This is the Adirondack Bucks and Beyond podcast. Here we go.
Oh, what a hog!
Take him, Corey. Atta boy.
Sure, we'll get this thing rolling. We'll jump into what we're
absolutely.
Gonna talk about. You wanted to start on the podcast thing, right? Or just, well, we already kind of talked about that, but.
I'm sorry, the podcast.
Where are you going to, the podcast, him and Zach's podcast?
Well, no, if you're good with it, man, like, I kept looking out for you all season, and there wasn't really any updates. And so how did your season go?
Oh, it was good, man. I saw 3 bucks in the Green Mountains that I passed on. I never had any cracks at any big bucks in Vermont this year. But I didn't have a lot of time to hunt, which is, it is what it is.
Crucial in the mountains.
Yeah, crucial in the mountains. The good snow and the time that I had off didn't really line up.
Yeah.
Sure.
As good as I would want it to. So, but I did see some bucks, so I can't really complain. If I was to complain, I'd be contradicting myself, right? Because I passed 3 of them.
Right. So. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I kept waiting on Facebook. I'm like, where's Isaac? Where's Isaac? I know he's gonna kill one, and then like the season kept going on. You didn't kill one, and I just thought to myself, I'm like you're a killer, dude. You're an absolute killer. You kill deer year in and year out. I'm like, that just goes to show how hard it is to hunt. Where all of us hunt, like in these mountains, dude. Like some years you're not. I mean, look at Hal Blood. Hal Blood's gone years without killing deer, and he's the godfather of tracking, basically. Right. It's crazy.
Did you follow any big ones?
In Vermont, let me think back. Nothing really stands out. I mean, I did get on one really good track in the greens, actually, now that I think about it, but it was really close to posted property.
Okay.
And I couldn't really follow it much. I see that a lot nowadays. A lot of big ones just hang near those yellow signs.
When you're saying the greens, you mean like up in the spruce?
Oh, no, Green Mountains. Sorry.
Oh, Green Mountain.
Yeah,
okay,
I call them the greens.
I don't know the Vermont lingo
yet.
Yeah,
I know, yeah, the Green Mountain National Forest. And looking back on my season, I was way too stubborn about trying to kill a big buck in Vermont because it's been a couple years since I've killed a good one in Vermont, and I take a lot of pride in it because it's pretty tough.
Oh yeah.
And I should have spent more time in New Hampshire because I knew of some really, really big ones in New Hampshire, but I was dead set on killing a good one in Vermont because it's closest to home, and then branching out from there. Which next year I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Do you primarily do you usually start in Vermont and then try filling a tag there and go somewhere else, or are you usually in New Hampshire? How do you usually?
Yeah, so usually I've been on such limited time these last few years. I just kind of go where the snow is. But this year I really had it in my head that I wanted to kill a big one in Vermont, and I ended up actually locating a really big Vermont buck towards the end of the season. Working up towards that 150-inch mark.
Really?
So, yeah, I've only hunted a handful in Vermont that big, so
yeah,
it's pretty cool to have located.
Seems like they never grow brow tines over in Vermont.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. He's got short brows.
Does he?
Yeah, I mean, I've hunted some big brow bucks in Vermont.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I just feel like every time I see a picture on social media, like I've never killed a buck in Vermont, but every time I see one on Facebook or whatever, it never has brow tines on it. And I'm like,
man.
what's going on over there? What's going on?
That's soil.
Yeah,
we have crappy soil. I mean, that's the only thing I can think because you go across the Connecticut River and there's giants.
I've heard you talk about this, and it's interesting. Like I can't really wrap my head around it. Like you jump across the river, and you guys say it's a soil, right?
I think so. I mean, some people will disagree, but I mean, another theory that I've had is the Green Mountains are a lot older than the Whites, and I believe they're actually quite a bit older than the Adirondacks.
Are they?
Yeah. So I mean, it would only make sense. Yeah, the Green Mountains are like 400 million years old, which is pretty old for this area.
That's old.
It's almost like a glacier came down and just missed where the Green Mountains are and just kind of like went around it and tore up the other stuff. So in my mind, antlers on a deer's head are directly related to what's in the ground. So if the ground has been depleted of nutrients for, let's say, another 200 million more years,
right,
it would only make sense that the antlers.
When was the last time that they cut in Vermont?
Well, cut the national forest. They're starting to cut it a little bit here and there. But
Are they?
yeah, I know around my area, a lot of the bigger national forest pieces, a lot of the oak was just completely slaughtered in the early 1900s,
Yep.
late 1800s.
Yeah.
There's actually an area, I'm not going to say a name of it or anything, but there's an area where you can literally see a mountain of sawdust from the late 1800s as big as a 2-story house, and it's just red. It's still red from all the
Really?
red oak. Oh, yeah. Right on a big
And it
river.
never, I don't understand, how did it never, like, get washed away or?
No, I mean, it was just so much sawdust. They had this huge...
What?
And some people listening to this might know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just a huge logging operation. It's fairly deep, too. It's like 2 miles in the woods.
Yeah.
And you can still go and see it. Just a massive, and there's no oak to be found anywhere around there. And a lot of the old timers around the area have always told me and everybody, don't climb on the sawdust pile because it like erodes from the inside out.
Sure,
I
it's
guess.
got caverns in it.
Fall down into that
And
thing.
it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the size of this house. It's huge.
Unreal.
What the hell?
That's
So,
really
I've
strange.
never heard of that ever.
I mean, just speaking about antlers, somebody who shall remain nameless, but we love him, and we understood what he meant when he said this. But he it was pretty recent during deer season. He's like, you guys just work so hard for such little bucks, and it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, to us they're not little though. And he was really speaking about body size, but mostly the antler size. And it's like, I mean, to us, 110-inch buck on the track is a freaking slammer, man.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
anything bigger is awesome too, but
Yeah.
we don't see it that way because that's what we've grown up hunting. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, in the Adirondacks, like they do get, and Vermont, and
Oh, yeah.
anywhere in the big woods,
Mhm.
there's bucks out there that are absolute giants, no
Yeah.
matter what. And I mean, it just seems like no matter where they are, they always end up getting some of those. But
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's just how it goes.
There's big bucks to be had everywhere.
oh
you
yeah,
know, but
if you look hard enough, you'll find one.
yeah, I mean, like in Vermont, the record book like requirement is 110 inches gross which-
for
for the Vermont
Just the
Big Game Trophy
baseline.
Club.
Just the
oh
baseline.
for the trophy
Yeah.
club. Gotcha.
And I
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean-
say, you know, we don't shoot like more. I wouldn't say, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'd say any more than like 50 or 60 110-inch deer in the whole state.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty hard to get on a big
Yeah,
buck.
Yeah,
that's
oh,
rough
dude,
going.
absolutely. Like there's, I mean, if I see those in the Adirondacks, they jump up out of their bed.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't seen a deer in,
Yep.
I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like there's probably gonna be some bullets flying when
Yeah.
they jump
Oh,
up
yeah,
out of their
yeah, yeah.
bed.
A lot of times the trophy is more on the hunt for us than it always is about
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
antlers.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, you
agreed.
could have worked way harder for a deer like that than you did, on a 140-inch buck on a bean.
Yeah,
field
absolutely.
type of thing.
Absolutely. Do you hunt like farm country and stuff ever, or are you like strictly up in the mountains?
I mean, so where I live, there's some farms around and
Mhm.
stuff. A lot of them have gone out as of recently, which is kind of sad.
Like
The-
after COVID and
yeah,
stuff?
No, actually, it was before that, but just I think it's something to do with milk prices.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the
Yep.
small little
Small
dairy
dairies
farms,
can't survive.
Yeah, we
anymore.
had a bunch of dairy farms around here too. Go under.
and that's what my area in Vermont was.
Yeah.
Let's say 20 years ago, it's
Mm-hmm.
just 100 milkers here, 100 milkers here, just all these like 100 cow farms, and
Yeah.
they've all unfortunately gone under. But yeah, I mean, I hunt around some ag and stuff. Definitely bow hunting.
Yeah.
I hunt around my house and stuff. But then when it comes to rifle or muzzleloader season, I am
Mhm.
pretty much in the mountains.
Yeah, I actually saw that video that you posted. I don't know. I think it was a couple of years ago. It was pretty wild. Of you guys, you guys were like bare ground tracking basically with the bows, and your
Oh,
buddy
yeah.
ended up shooting one.
Yep. Yep.
Dude, I've never seen anything like that ever.
Oh yeah, that was
That
old
was-
Nate Quarry.
Yeah, that was insane. That was a nice buck too.
Yeah, he's a unit. So he hit that deer in the hock on the back leg.
Yeah.
So he was walking. He just got down from his tree stand. He was walking, and this buck jumps up, and he draws back, and he shoots, and it hits some brush.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, it's all we can think. It was kind of
Right.
like rose bushes or type
Yeah.
of deal.
Mhm.
And he hit that deer in the hock, and we followed it for like 3.5 miles with like speck here, speck there, and then it would open up
God.
every once in a while when we get it in some steeper stuff. But yeah, we basically
Dude, there's so much that could go wrong doing it with a bow up. Like that is
Oh,
so
yeah.
hard to do.
so we ran that deer out of blood for sure.
Oh yeah.
That's
I mean,
how
you
we
guys
got him.
probably chased him till he didn't want to run anymore.
That's
I would imagine.
Yeah, it's
Ran
exactly.
him right down.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's exactly what we did. And we ran him down into there's this brook, and I mean, this is a part of hunting, but we ran him out of blood. Like, he was down in that brook, and I've heard a lot of people say that if you run a deer out of blood, they'll go to water because they can like replenish,
Right.
kind of.
Yeah.
At least in their mind,
Yeah.
they can.
Yeah, and it probably that's what their body
And
needs.
it's downhill.
Yeah,
so.
that's what their body needs. But yeah, no,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Have you shot a buck with your bow up in the mountains?
So I've only gotten one in the mountains. I've only killed 2 bucks with my bow.
Yep.
I've killed a smaller buck around my house, in kind of the farm country, like smaller mountains, and then I got one up in the mountains though.
Did you?
Yep.
A lot of sitting, or what
No,
was it?
I was actually walking into an area that I was sitting on the ground. There was a bunch of green rubs, like right in the beginning of bow season, and I was walking in, and we had to go through this like big cattail alder swamp type deal, and I'm walking through it, and my buddy was in front of me, and he's walking along. And it's a funny story too, because he was complaining that I was walking too fast.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, dude, you set the pace.
Yeah.
I'll go behind you.
And then
So he gets in front of me, and I'm just, walking behind him. And I look to my left, and I see this buck in some brush, and he's just watching us walk by him. So my buddy in front of me, he's just still walking. So I just grab an arrow out of my quiver. At that point, I had a quiver that was on my back.
Yeah.
This is a few years ago. And I pull the arrow out of my bow, and I knock it. And as I'm walking, I'm like, hey, like to my buddy, and he turns around, and I draw back, thump, shoot the deer, and I got it. It was
Good
another-
one?
Shit.
Yeah, a decent little 7-pointer.
Nice. Dude.
Awesome,
Yeah.
dude.
That
I
doesn't
mean,
happen every day.
any buck with your bow up there, that's
Like a
awesome.
90-incher. It was no
Hell
giant,
yeah,
but
dude.
Oh, that's plenty.
Hell yeah.
but that was my only.
So when you were walking by, he just stood up and was letting you guys walk by him, basically?
Yeah, so I
Is that what you...
I don't think he ever stood up. I think he was standing there.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was
so
just-
he was just cruising down through there and saw you guys and was
Yeah.
like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I think they do it a lot.
I'll
more
say it
than
happens
people
more
think.
than we probably realize.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
gonna let us walk
Actually,
right by.
in one of our last podcasts, we just talked about, I don't know if you see this, and I mean, and it'll be interesting to talk to you about this because you hunt, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Adirondacks. What we've seen a lot is deer bedding directly off of hiking trails. Do
Yeah.
you see that in other places you go or anywhere?
I mean, I know on snow, like in the mountains, it seems like. I've seen them bed right down in a hiking trail, right in the
Right.
middle of it.
Right.
It seems like they kind of disregard the hiking trails in the areas that I've hunted.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can see what you're saying though, in like a more heavily pressured area or something.
just
it's like
'cause,
they're
like,
keeping tabs on the people.
100%.
Yeah, like in the
Yeah.
Adirondacks, especially like
Okay,
the
yeah.
high traffic hiking areas. I
Gotcha.
mean, we hunt a lot of those areas, and we're constantly finding bucks bedded right off the trail, monitoring. And
The people.
yeah, and this is a third podcast, and I've brought it up now, but this one buck that we have he's a giant.
Yep.
And he beds right off the hiking trail. I mean, Corey ran up on him, I think, 100 yards and saw him this year.
Wow.
And he's just right there. So I was just interested to see like if you've seen that other places that you've gone to.
Yeah, well, I've definitely seen it, and I think, like you said, high traffic area.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of big bucks have figured out that they're safe near those high traffic areas.
Absolutely.
They're safe next to bike trails. They're safe next to houses.
Mhm.
They're safe next to whatever.
Right.
They've
Sure.
figured it out for sure.
Yeah, Corey and I got in the conversation like a while back, and we were like, it's crazy. We feel like deer over the years have just like evolved to
Oh yeah.
want to be around houses and want to be around where the people are, no matter where they are. Like just
Yeah.
specific properties we hunted, we see it more and more. Like there's deer just in these people's yards all the time,
Yep.
and that's where they're bedding too, right in their backyard. Because they know they're not gonna get me here. It's like a completely overlooked spot.
Yeah, that's probably more in a suburban type setting, which they certainly
Yeah, I'm
do.
I'm not talking mountains. I'm
Yeah.
talking. I should have said like farm country. Like
I've
that.
seen it in the mountains though too.
Yeah.
I really have, like big, huge, 50,000 acre chunk of wilderness, and you got some mansions,
Yeah.
abutting it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest bucks are down in the mansions.
Right.
Yeah, I tracked a buck last season. I mean, the same deal. I mean, I don't know how many acres is that piece, right?
Mhm.
I definitely over 50,000 acres.
Yep.
And I'm tracking it, and there's all these camps and these big, beautiful houses around this lake. And the buck, all I had to do was go the other way, and we had everywhere. I had all day to go catch up with him, but instead he goes down and goes right
Yeah,
down to
well-
public, and I see him stand in someone's backyard. I'm like,
Yeah,
what am I going to
I
do
know.
about
well,
that?
because they know there's food
They know,
there.
yeah, and they're
That's
safe.
food, and then I think a lot of times too, I think it has a lot to do with predators.
Really?
Because like coyotes, because
Sure.
I don't think coyotes like to be around people at all.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't usually see coyotes like mixing in around houses, especially in like a rural area.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
It seems like a lot of people just shoot them.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
No, yeah,
I think they
definitely.
figure it
That
out.
definitely could be the case as well.
I've lived out in the country for the last year now, and I get deer tracks in my yard all the time. I never see dog tracks, but I hear coyotes almost every night.
Yeah.
But they're off
Yeah, I
in
guess
the
that is
woods.
funny. Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. I think, and especially too when does are having fawns in the spring, they really like to tuck up to a house.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
somebody's
definitely.
backyard, and I
Sure.
think that's for predators.
Yep.
So, kitty cat. Hi, kitty cat.
Christ.
That's all right.
All
That's
right.
on video.
I got a cat. That's all right.
Making her
Hi.
appearance.
So, obviously, like we talked about before we started the podcast, I mean, tell us about how you make your way up into the Adirondacks. Like, how long ago did you start hunting up here? What brought you over across the border?
Well, I live pretty close to the border.
You sure
so,
do, yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked hunting over here.
We
since-
accept you, brother. You're
Yeah,
a New
yeah,
Yorker.
I know. Yeah. I
Knock
don't
her right
think-
off there. Just push her right
No,
off
she's
there if you
good,
want.
man. She's good. I think it was 2016 or 2017 was the first year I came over to the Adirondacks and started hunting. And there's a few years after that I didn't come back. But that first year I came over, I hunted in the High Peaks
Okay.
Oh,
region.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun over there. I passed on 2 or 3 bucks that year, and I messed up on a pretty good one. It was hard hunting too.
That's some crazy country up there.
And that's why I
Yeah.
was kind of drawn to it because, I hunt a lot of crazy stuff in Vermont.
Mhm.
Like, people wouldn't think of southern Vermont having big, huge, crazy mountains, but we do.
definitely
In
do.
some spots we do.
Definitely.
And, that's why I was kind of drawn to the high peaks. And there's some good bucks up there for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people say, I don't know because I've never hunted up there, but they say that's where most of the 200-pounders come from
Yeah,
that
that's
are
where-
in the
yeah.
Adirondacks.
Yeah, that's where the real heavy ones come from, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got to imagine that a good portion of those bucks up there are just completely unpressured.
Oh yeah,
Because one's, I'll say it for myself, like, I don't want to go hike those most of the time. I'm
Yeah,
sure I
no.
will at some point, but
Yeah.
like on a daily basis, like I don't want to go do that.
Yeah,
That's
no.
insane.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's some wicked country. I have a funny story about the high peaks. That first year I was hunting over here, I came with a couple buddies. The first day we hunted it, and it was bare ground. I think it was the first day of rifle, so it was
Mhm.
October, and we didn't see anything. And we ended up hunting Vermont and whatever, and then we got some snow. I ended up killing a buck in Vermont, and I was like, "Hey guys, you want to go back over to the high peaks?" And
Yeah.
they didn't really want to come back over. They were still trying to fill the Vermont tag.
Uh-huh.
So at the time, I had this little white Mazda car that my
Oh, God.
my
This
grandmother.
is gonna be a good story.
Yeah, I mean, my grandmother. It was my grandmother's car, and then I don't know if you guys remember, like 7 years ago or something, we had a huge hailstorm.
Yeah.
It like
sure.
ruined like a ton of cars and stuff.
Oh,
Do you remember
yeah,
that?
Yeah. I do
Okay,
remember that.
so she
yeah.
had this little white Mazda, and it was just all dinged up with these dents from the hail. So the insurance company totaled it, and they were gonna give her, like, the dealership or whatever. They were gonna give her like $200 for it. So my grandma was like, "Do you want this car?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
So me and my buddies called it the flying golf ball because it had all these like
Right, the
dimples.
dents.
Yep, the dents, and it was white, and I beat the piss out of that.
Oh,
thing.
dude, those are the best cars. That's why I
Yeah.
got a little Honda Civic right now, and
I
I
mean,
just
you
beat
can't-
the
you
crap
can't
out
beat
of
'em.
it, dude.
And I, by myself, used to pound that thing up into the high peaks.
That's crazy.
like,
Was it all-wheel drive?
oh
or-
no, front wheel drive.
Oh hell yeah.
And I, poor boy slicks on it and everything, like just doing some crazy
I
stuff.
honestly don't
That
know how you
is-
made it, man.
I wish I filmed that stuff because it would
Yeah,
have been
absolutely,
really,
dude.
really sweet stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, actually, and we've talked a lot about this too. Do you have like one of the inReaches?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, you got to get one of those
Ah.
for like. Oh man,
I know.
like-
I feel like he's a pretty good woodsman. I don't know. If
Well,
you
no,
know
not-
that.
not just that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
like
yeah.
in a situation like you're saying,
Wow,
bringing that
true.
car up there, like, dude, you can get stuck in some crazy places up there, and there could be some crazy things that happen.
I know, and this might be wrong for me to say, but this is my belief though. It's like part of the fun for me.
I can say
You know
that.
what-
Yeah,
you know what I
it's-
mean? Like,
little bit
I
It's
living on
like
the edge.
it's like almost like an adrenaline type
kind
thing.
kind
like,
of, and like when I go out and hunt those big pieces and that don't have any cell phone service.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little bit more connected to the old boys back in the day. Like,
Sure.
100%.
You know what
I
I
heard
mean?
you and Zach talking
Yeah.
about that on the and that's
Yeah.
100% true, dude. I mean, we're our generation and world of hunting is nowhere near what they were back in the day, and it's insane to think that we have all these maps and all these ways of communicating with each other, and they had nothing, dude. They had nothing.
That's the thing, and like I still try to practice it to this day. When I go tracking in the mountains, a lot of days I don't take anything. Like I just have a knife and my GoPro, some batteries.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have a pack. I
was gonna say,
I have
like,
a rope in my pocket and I just go.
From your videos, like, you could tell you have very good woodman skills.
Yeah,
so it's very interesting, like that. Yeah, no problem. It's very interesting that you say like you go in there without it, because I know, again, I don't. Like, I go into my phone every time I'm looking on maps because my woodman skills aren't.
Well,
anywhere.
I have my phone, but I'm just saying, like, I don't have like a bunch of gear on me.
Right.
Like, I don't have a pack usually. I'm just carrying what I can put in my pockets.
Right. Do you carry like lighters and like all that kind of stuff?
I usually don't, man. I usually don't. But I'm wearing wool.
Really?
I'm wearing wool, so my kind of thinking behind it is, like I said, this probably isn't the greatest advice for somebody who's going to get into it. But it's
disclaimer.
I'm
don't listen to what he's saying.
I'm young. I'm in decent enough shape. I'm in the woods at least 1 or 2 times every week, all year long.
Right.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to walk out, and if I break my leg, I'll crawl out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
Sure.
On the other side of that, I'll just say I feel like they're like, you just hear stories all the time of people who are like you. They're like, what's going to happen? Like, nothing's going to happen. And then it does happen, and you're like, oh, okay. But hey, if that's part of the adventure for you,
it's funny. When we first started hunting up north, we packed like every night we were going to have to stay out there. And my pack has significantly decreased in what I keep in there. Honestly, it's more food than anything. That's what keeps me in the woods. If I can have a snack real quick, I can keep going. Yeah, if I start getting hungry, it's just, for me, I already know ahead of time it's going to become a mental thing. So I don't let myself get there.
Yep.
Just a couple Welch's fruit snacks and I'll keep myself going.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all, personal for whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
And I think for me, taking nothing with me almost I don't know how to word it, but it keeps me
more focused.
Not focused, but just like more mentally tough, because I have I have my gun, I have my camera now, which is a lot more than, that's still a lot of crap, but I'm out there, I'm hunting, that's it. I'll eat when I get out, I'll drink when I get out. I just go. You know what I mean?
You're more of a man than I am.
I had a high school football coach always said, "Hungry dogs hunt best."
That's true.
So there you go.
It is. Yeah,
no,
that's true.
And
if you think about it, like us three, we're young, we're in shape.
Right.
Your body's capable
of way more than you even know it is.
Even know you could go a week without food and still climb a big mountain if you really had to. Obviously this is.
I always used to keep a bottle of water in my pack. I don't ever do that anymore.
Never drank it, right? That was my thing. I always had a bottle of water in my pocket, and I never drink it. And I'd get out and be like, "What am I doing?"
I just drink out of the streams.
That too. I mean, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did try. I was carrying around a bladder for a little bit, and I'm like, "This is not it. This is not it. It's way too heavy." And then I brought it out on a cold day, and it just froze anyway. So I'm like, this sucks. I'm done with this.
You know what Zach does pick on us for, though, and he'd get a kick out of this?
Dude, I wish you brought this up in the podcast, because it would have been hilarious.
He thinks the fact that we wear wools and rubber boots is like the crazy. Literally, dude, he thinks that is the most ridiculous thing that he's ever heard.
Dude.
But again, it works. Man.
Oh yeah, it works, and there's nothing better than it.
No.
I will always.
I wish you said that to him on the podcast. And he ragged on me for a week straight.
Well, if he gets serious about doing this kind of hunting, he's gonna have to try it with the stuff he wears.
He won't,
and then he won't try it with the wool.
He will.
He won't. Well, see, going back to the lighter thing, I almost screwed myself last year's season here in the Adirondacks. I was with Connor, and we were up and over the first mountain. Right from the road, and then like up and over the second mountain. So we're like we're getting back in there, on a big piece, huge piece, and we're back in there, and it's pouring all day long, like just like raining so hard it looked like it was a fog, and there was probably like 10 inches of snow. It's when we got all that snow. I think it was the week after Thanksgiving. Do you remember all that snow?
Yeah, we were up there.
Yeah, you were.
That was the weekend somewhere. We were all up there, I think.
Yeah, you were. I think you were west of us a little ways.
Yeah, I think I messaged Connor. that when you guys
Yeah.
you or Connor, I messaged you guys. That's the weekend Zach came up to the Adirondack.
Yes. Yeah. So that weekend. So that, do you guys remember that day that it rained?
Yeah.
So we were back in there on that day, and I saw a buck, decent little, probably 100-inch buck, and I would have killed him. But when I saw him, he saw me. He was right on the edge of the bank. Boop, he headed right down over. So I got on his track, right off the bat, jumped him again after I gave him a little time, and called Connor up. And I was like, hey, you want to come down here? Right on when he was pretty close to me, actually. So he came down, and I was like, let's double team this thing. So he comes down, and after I jumped him the first time, I was like, let's wait like an hour.
Yeah.
And he came right down.
You'll wait that long?
Oh, yeah. The longer, the better.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
I'm horrible. Dude, I'm horrible.
And
I'm so impatient.
And I'll get into that a little bit after this story. But he came down the ridge kind of where I figured if the buck was going to swing a funny way, and if I would have made a swing, that's where I would have headed. So I was like, okay, he's going to come down through there. So that'll be kind of like the strategic swing that I like to make.
Sure.
If I'm going to do, and I'll get into that more after this
Yeah,
story. But
elaborate on both those things after this.
Yeah, so I was very miserable at this point because I was soaked right through my woolies, soaked. And I had just given the buck some time back for when I jumped him the first time, gave him some time then. So I'm getting cold, really cold. And Connor comes down, and I'm like, hey, man, I got nothing on me. Do you have a lighter? And he's like digging around. He's like, I'm like looking through his pack, and like we find this lighter, and we're like, oh my God, okay, we have to try to find some dry wood to make a fire here. So like we're digging under this log, and we found some sticks and stuff, and we just could not get anything going. We got some birch bark, couldn't get anything. Like everything was just saturated. So I mean, it even got to the point where I'm like digging out hunting licenses out of my wallet. Right, because I'm like pulling out my Vermont hunting license, like balling it up, lighting it on fire, trying to get this thing going. We could not get it going. But here's the thing with wool. I was frozen. Like my face was like purple, like my hands were purple. But the thing with wool is once we started back on that buck track and we started moving and the heart started beating again, like really beating, because we were hoofing it.
Right.
I was, you warm up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you're wet. Even if you're wet, you warm up. As long as you can continue to move,
right?
Even when you're soaked through,
you're
going to be okay.
Yeah.
Whereas if that was synthetic crap, I don't think that would have been the case.
No, absolutely not. And I can tell you for a fact it wouldn't be because I hunted in that synthetic bullshit the previous season of last.
Yeah.
So,
and I just want to clarify. He was not saying it in a bad way. He just feels that there's better gear out there, and we like the nostalgia of I want to shoot bucks on the track wearing checkered wool. That's just how I like it.
Yeah, and it works. Like we said,
and
before,
it absolutely works. Yep,
so,
that's just how I'd prefer to do it. So
and maybe some of this synthetic stuff that costs like $2,000 for a suit of it. I'm not gonna say any names. You already know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
maybe you will stay warm after it's wet.
I'm sure.
But what the?
I know.
$1,000? Like,
trust me.
I don't think you would.
I did it.
It's synthetic, and I've just recently switched to not synthetic, merino wool base layers.
Okay, we can talk about game changer.
Yeah, merino wool base layers are the way to go.
Unbelievable.
They're awesome, dude.
Yeah, they are, and I had not found out about them until this year.
Really?
I was always wearing synthetic, like Under Armour type material.
What'd you get? What brand?
It's off Amazon. It's
Corey likes his Amazon merino wool.
Yeah.
So, dude, I wore all Under Armour before this when it came to base layers. That's all I knew. So we wore in football back in high school, all that.
Same.
Day 2, man, stinking.
And
and I'm not that kind of guy. Like, I really don't sweat. I'm a pretty lean dude. Like, I don't really stink like that. But my stuff will start to smell when it gets like some moisture in it. That merino wool, I wear it days on end. It does not smell. It's the strangest thing.
Dude, these socks.
I bought a bunch of the minus 33
darn
stuff,
tough, baby.
Yeah, darn tough. I know you guys all love that. I got to get on that too. I just have so much smart wool. I've been wearing that out, but eventually I'll get some.
Yeah, the merino wool's a game changer.
Oh, it's awesome. It's comfortable. I like it.
Wicks. Like it wicks the moisture off your body too, like different. Because like I know, like my underarmy, I don't even know what it like nylon basically, whatever that stuff was. My like leggings that I would wear under my woolies. After a day of hiking real hard, you'd kind of get like just a grungy feeling in your legs. Gnarly.
There's no breathability.
No breathability. But with the merino wool, it's unbelievable.
Awesome.
It's like I'm in my pajamas all day.
Yes,
like going through
dude,
the woods.
awesome.
And I feel like if you don't have that grungy feeling, you're gonna hunt better. You feel better.
Definitely.
Like if you feel good,
100%.
you're gonna hunt good.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say is because I mean Brett Joy is like a rocket scientist when it comes to like gear and then like everything basically.
Right.
And he's like, dude, I know it sucks, but like just try wearing like nothing in when you go to hunt somewhere. Like
Oh yeah.
some of the mountains that we hunted this year, like we would hike up to the top and I would have like, you know, a t-shirt on or just a long sleeve shirt and just my undergarments. And dude, what a game changer that makes for the rest of the day. It's so much more enjoyable being dry and warm, and even bring like a little towel or something, wipe the sweat off, dude, and your day will be so much better.
What are you hunting in for boots? Are you wearing Lacrosses?
Lacrosse, 18-inch. I wear them all year. Scouting in the summer, everything. I
got to try them.
Yeah.
I've been a muck guy all this time, and I've had real good luck with them. They're super comfortable to me, but I do want to try a good pair of Lacrosses with the air grips.
18-inch Burleys. The
Yeah.
Burley grip.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to.
I have those. Those are the first ones I ever got.
Oh yeah.
And they don't have the grips on them.
Oh yeah. Those
Dude,
are,
I was slipping and sliding all over that year. I wore those, and then I got the grips this last year, and it's like total game changer.
Do you tape your woolies over your pants, like down around your
Nope,
ankles?
I don't tape them. I just
Do you
throw
tuck
over.
them in?
No,
Or you
I just throw them
over?
over top.
So something that I've found over the years is if you don't tape your ankles up on your woolies and you go through a brook and then you're in the snow, especially if you're having like a 12 to 15 mile day, the woolies, when you go through a brook and then you're in the snow, it'll accumulate like an ice ball.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll keep
Oh,
going,
yeah.
and that's terrible.
It's like bell bottoms,
Yeah.
just full of ice.
And that'll hurt after a couple miles.
It gets heavy.
Yeah,
yeah, it
and
definitely
it'll
gets
like
heavy.
kind of be rubbing on your ankles and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So if you tape up the bottom real good, it won't happen.
Yeah, the other thing you can do, and this is what I do, and I got this from my time in the academy from law enforcement, but you can buy these things called military boot blousers, and they go on around like your merino wool, and then you take your pants and you tuck them up underneath them, and it does the same thing. It just creates that barrier. So basically, you wear your woolies almost like high waters to an extent to keep them up out of the water.
You put them on, like tuck them into your boots.
No.
No,
So
no.
if these are my woolies, it's just
Yep.
an elastic band. It would go around my merino wool, and I
Yep.
pull my woolies over top, and then you just tuck them up underneath, and it would hold them like that.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
it just keeps them up out of the water.
So you're
out of the-
tucking the lip of the pant like up into that
Yeah.
little
Yeah,
elastic.
and you can buy those off of Amazon for like 5 pack. Or
And
10
that
pack,
would
whatever.
go over your rubber boot.
You can put it right over your boot.
That's cool.
Yeah, put
I
it right
haven't
over your
seen
boot.
those.
Just an idea. If you
Yeah.
know, if you feel like your woolies are getting worn out from like I don't know, does the duct tape kind of tear them up or not really?
No, I blow the crotch out of them before that ever happens. Anyway.
Don't we all?
Yeah, dude,
Don't we all?
I just got a brand new
Amen.
pair, and I'm already starting to blow the crotch out of them.
Yeah,
so.
I go through like, it's usually one a year, really. One pair a year.
Damn,
I
dude,
blow
they're
the
too
crotch.
expensive.
Yeah, I know. They're like
I'm about
200.
to start buying that Big Bill stuff off Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think I'm running a pair of Big Bills right now, and they're
Are you?
pretty good.
Yeah, our buddy Adam Arquette was saying that he's had that one Big Bill coat for like 10 years or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
He's been
whatever.
wearing.
Whatever works, man. Whatever works.
Yeah, that's it. But and another thing with taping your ankles too is you get that support
Yes.
because
Yeah.
with the rubber boots, you don't really have a lot of ankle support.
Right.
So you get a good. I mean, I don't go tight with it, but I just I'll give it a wrap.
you know it's there.
You know it's
Yeah,
there.
it's like
you,
when you're playing football, or you want to
Exactly.
give it a little wrap.
you give it a little wrap.
Yeah.
And you can feel the difference.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. I did. I
Yeah.
wear those Crispies over there on Bare Ground.
Yep.
Oh my god, dude! I know everyone like they're very expensive. They're
Yep.
very expensive.
Yep.
But dude, they are the shit.
Yeah,
Like, they're awesome.
I've heard a lot of good things about that. Brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you were gonna come back to the.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you were talking about the loop.
Yeah.
Loop
So
thing.
when I
Swinging
usually
on 'em.
usually when I jump a buck, I like to swing on them pretty much every time.
Mhm.
I don't like to just wait around. A lot of guys will tell you, wait a half an hour, have a sandwich, whatever,
Right.
and that'll work for a lot of people. But for me, and I was just the last podcast I was on. I don't want to be too redundant, but
No,
I
this
was-
I think
yeah.
is a very good. I know where you're going. It's a good
Yeah.
thing to talk about. I think.
yeah. So, when you jump a buck, a lot of guys will say to wait. But what I like to do is I'll do a strategic swing, in like an area I think I might be able to cut them off.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times a buck will try to get above you. A lot of times, they're going to loop left or right depending on the
Right.
way the land lays. So, I feel like it just it puts you in the game. Whereas if you're just going to wait, you're taking yourself out of the game.
Right, and I
Yeah.
feel like that is something that just comes though with years of experience, because where I'm at right now, I mean, this was my third year or second year up in the Adirondacks. Like, Dude, if I'm on a track right now, I'm not. Like that doesn't even go through my brain. I'm like, I just need to keep following this track, like
Right.
head down, reading the script,
Mhm.
of what I'm supposed to do, and like that. I feel like that is just something that comes to you over years and years of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it probably does, and I'd listen to a lot of the guys that teach people how to track, and
Mm-hmm.
I tried. One of the things that I have going for me is I started trying to track when I was 16. Like when I got my driver's
Right.
license, I started going up to the mountains.
That's awesome.
And getting on buck
You're
tracks.
ahead of ball on everyone before you even got big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just always was infatuated with it. Like I
Right.
don't know why. I love tracking deer. Like
Mm-hmm.
around where I grew up and stuff. I just would always track. And when I started really getting into it, when I turned 16, I would do that half an hour wait. But I'm such a squirrely person. Like I have such a hard time shutting down
Me
for
too.
a half an hour. Yeah, like
Same
I
here,
have
dude.
so much going on. Like I'm just like
Same here.
Yeah. So that's where those strategic swings, and I've killed bucks doing those swings,
Sure.
and I'm going to continue killing bucks
Oh,
doing
yeah.
those swings
Yeah.
because it only makes sense. You follow enough of them and you jump enough of them, you're going to start seeing patterns on how they'll try to escape from you, which is
Right.
danger. Like when you're
Mhm.
high in the mountains, they usually try to get above you.
Right.
When you're up in that green growth, they're gonna circle and try to get above you, or if you're like in some rolling hills, they're gonna try to get a height advantage on you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can just onyx real quick. Oh, yep, there's a little knob over there, a little spruce on it. He's heading to the right, but I'm gonna go get on that knob real quick, and by the time I get there, it's gonna be half an hour, 45 minutes, and if I don't see him there, I'm gonna swing my way back around, get on his
Right.
track, and continue.
And I feel like that's the part that always gets me because I feel like I'm like, all right, if I go do that, like I potentially can walk over here and just not even find his track, and I just wasted 45 minutes walking over here for nothing when I could have been following him and maybe caught up to him, and that's what always gets me in the woods. I'm always like, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. So
Right. Well, if you're like me, I would definitely try those swings
yeah.
because you're putting yourself in the game, and I feel like if you're like really high strung like me and you have to sit there for a half an hour after you jump a buck, it's just like it's torture.
Yeah.
It's just for me it is
Right.
anyway. It's torture, and then you
Yeah.
start overthinking things, and then you just don't hunt as good. Whereas if you make that big swing, you're keeping yourself in the game. You're giving yourself a chance to shoot the buck. You're keeping your mind fresh. You're seeing new country. You might shoot a stray on the way up
Right.
on that ridge. You
Absolutely.
might shoot
Oh,
a different
yeah.
buck.
Absolutely.
You're seeing different country, and that leads to the next thing that said I'd hit on earlier is the more time you give a buck, the better. And this happens to me a lot in Maine when I'm tracking deer. It seems like I'm always like a few hundred yards off side of a road because there's freaking roads everywhere in Maine.
Right.
Like it's crazy. I mean, there are some big pieces of timber in Maine, but it's nothing like the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
Like the Adirondacks has got Maine smoked with
Yeah.
the size of woods, and even I personally believe Vermont has bigger pieces of woods than Maine.
Really.
Oh yeah, you go up to Maine, that stuff's Swiss cheesed with roads. Like it's
Right.
insane. Like you can't go more than a half a mile without hitting a
Right.
freaking logging road, and
Yeah.
it's all been cut. So I mean, what I do up there is get on a buck track. If I jump them, I head right back out, get in the truck, head to a new area. Maybe I get in a new piece of woods for a couple hours.
Sure.
Come back 3 hours later.
Try. It's
get
like
back on
brand
that-
new all
it's
over
like
again.
brand new, but
Yeah.
he's there.
Right.
Because the hardest part about tracking, to me, is locating a big fresh buck track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, if you have it located and you jump them, the more time you give them, the better.
Right.
In my mind, especially like in that day. I'm not saying like leave them for a whole night, but like leave them for. I know half an hour is like the thing that everybody says, but
Right.
I always give them more than a half hour. It's unless it's later in the day. If it's later in the day,
You're gonna push.
I
the
might have to
envelope.
push it.
Right.
But if it's, let's say 8:00 in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that deer an hour and a half. Like
2
hours.
Now, while you're doing that, are you going and
I'm doing
checking
that
other
swing.
stuff? Or
Yeah,
you're
so
doing you're
I'm
doing,
doing
the
that swing.
Okay, so that's how it
I'm
all
doing-
kind of ties
yeah.
back into the
Yep, and I'm doing that swing. Maybe I'll go check something else out on that piece of woods, whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like, yes, a half an hour will work
Mhm.
because that buck's going to run 200-300 yards most of the time. maybe I've seen them run a lot farther than that, but they'll stop and you'll see a ton of tracks where they just stand in one spot and they'll just watch for you coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll look back
on
their track.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, it's kind of like, okay, you know, it's not coming. The thing's not coming after me. But I feel like the senses are still heightened, you know?
Right.
So it's like the more time, the better.
Yeah.
That's just
No,
my theory.
Dude, I 100% agree with you because I am the most impatient person in the world, dude. Like, I constantly have to be moving. And like I said, like, I'm so new to it that
Yeah.
I'm just, like, reading the script, like, follow the track, do this, do that. And, like, I won't even give it 30 minutes sometimes. I'll just be like, I'm just going to go. Just go, go, go. And that screws me so much.
Oh, yeah, it will.
And like you said, like, every single time, dude, they're catching me doing that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, there are guys that never get off a buck track.
Yeah.
And that's just their style, and that's their way they do it.
Right.
But it's not my style.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the way I do it, and, you know, it works for me. And, you know, I think, like what you're saying, you're new to it, and you can't wait that half an hour because you're so excited and stuff. I think with tracking, a lot of times, you have to be able to unplug from the situation. You have to, like, take your emotions out of it.
Right.
Especially if you see the thing. You see that big old rat crashing away from you, and you don't get a shot at him, and it's like, oh, my gosh, I got to go.
Just go get him.
I got to go. Yeah, I got to go. Got to go. You have to unplug. You have to take some deep breaths. You have to okay. You know,
Absolutely.
Like, you got to unplug from the situation, be like, okay, I just jumped him. I gotta, you know, and that's where my swing comes into play.
Yeah.
You know, I'm making a move. Like,
and one thing, sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No,
but,
you're good.
One thing that we had just talked about in the last podcast as well is like Corey was saying, he's like, he felt like when he's tracking, kind of like what I'm saying is like he was reading a script as he was doing it. Because, dude, there's so much information out there saying you got to do it this way, this way, this way, and this is the right way to do it. And like, I almost feel like I get that too when I'm tracking. It's just like I need to like just disconnect from all that and just hunt how I know how to hunt, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't do that. So I feel like that's something I need to work on.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to understand your mistake when you don't even know what you were doing to begin with.
Yeah, right.
You know, but if you're hunting the way you want to, the mistake probably seems a lot more obvious, you know, to you. But
Yeah.
I never heard about the swing until I started watching a lot of the Elmer stuff.
oh yeah.
You know, and Rodney's talked quite a bit about it. And initially, the swing didn't. I couldn't see where I was supposed to do the swing, but 3 years into it now, and have followed quite a few buck tracks, I can absolutely see where the swing comes in now, and it makes. And I think you'd probably agree too. Like the swing doesn't always have to be 45 minutes either. It could also be a couple hundred yards, and depending on the lay of the land, and you run right into them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a huge swing. Like it can be as simple as, you know, you jump a buck, he dives down over the side of the mountain, and, you know, you kind of look at the lay of the land and you see the ridge kind of works up that way. Maybe you just run up to that point where you can see up a couple hundred yards down over the bank and maybe catch him looking back at his track real quick. I mean,
you ever swing him without jumping him and you're anticipating where he might have gone?
I do that quite a bit actually on steep ground.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it's kind of predictable where he's headed, and you're going to try it anyways.
Yeah, I haven't successfully done it yet.
Sure.
But I know guys that have. You know, especially when you're tracking on steep stuff, they'll always have a really good advantage on you.
Right.
And
what's a 20-minute swing, dude? You can come back on your backtrack and go right back to where you started.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Or cut them off again. You know, just keep keep cutting off the track. And if you do I've done this before. I've made a swing on a buck and I ended up making a whole circle around.
Right.
And I come right back to where I was, and I was like, "Whoa, he's in my circle."
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I knew.
Super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's kind of gonna get a little spooky. You're like, "Oh boy, he's right here."
Yeah, he's right there.
He's right in my bubble.
I shot that buck.
Okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
There you go.
I shot him in his bed, actually.
How big was he?
Just a big old 4-pointer.
Yeah.
A rack
Sick.
4-pointer.
Love it.
Yeah. Weighed like
Love it.
150 pounds. And I don't know if I would have killed him if I knew he was a 4-pointer.
Right.
But I was, amped, and I was in the mountains, and I caught him bedded.
Hell yeah, dude.
I shoot
Hell
him.
yeah.
But, yeah.
Hell yeah. Have you shot a 200-pounder? Yeah.
I have, yep.
Have you?
Yep, in Vermont. I got a 205-pounder.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Awesome.
Clean
dude.
dressed.
That's
Not main dressed. No nuts.
No nuts.
Oh, yeah.
He was completely clean.
Yeah.
I split him, everything.
That
out
was
of
something
him.
I wanted to ask you too. Having spent time in the Adirondacks, when you're in Vermont or the Adirondacks, are you looking for about the same size foot? You a little bit bigger in Vermont?
Bigger in Vermont.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had
for
talked
sure.
about that briefly, like over Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
Or over Snapchat.
Instagram. Yeah, no,
message.
so, but I think in the high peaks is probably similar to Vermont.
Okay.
Really?
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But and then like New Hampshire, Vermont, high peaks, it's kind of like all the same. But then
Okay.
see the funny thing about the Adirondacks is there's so many different moving pieces in the Adirondacks.
Biospheres.
There's so
almost.
many
Yeah.
different.
Dude.
You know, like
Yeah.
in my mind, there's the foothills, there's like the Champlain Valley Adirondacks, there's the
Mhm.
high peaks, and then there's like the Western Wilderness, which is like its own little thing out there.
Mhm.
Seriously.
You know, but
Yeah.
then
No,
there's like
absolutely, that's a great way of putting it.
yeah, and they all hunt different.
Yeah.
I've hunted all of them.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
you're actually very obviously in tune with the Adirondacks and the
Yeah.
lay of the land, because
Which
that's
is
exactly
interesting.
how I would describe it.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize you hunted in the Adirondacks that much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that 2017, 2018 area, I really bounced around the entire
Mhm.
Adirondack. I got a feel for everything.
Right.
And then as of last year, I kind of found an area that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to kind of focus in on that area.
Yep.
And you know, because I've passed on a bunch of bucks in the Adirondacks, and I'm looking for a specimen in the Adirondack.
Right.
I'm looking for a really good Adirondack
Mhm.
buck, and you know, I've only had an opportunity at one. You know, like collectively, I've probably only hunted the Adirondacks like 7 days or something,
Right.
but I've bounced around wicked.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
like I said, I've hunted all those what I just said.
Mhm.
But you know, it's funny, man. There's some places in the Adirondacks that are just beautiful. Like there's
Dude,
some deep oak stands
so
that probably haven't been
beautiful.
hunted in a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm sure
mean,
you guys know what I'm talking about. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you think of the guys who are going back there on float planes and stuff. Which actually, we had a conversation with someone about that recently at that little party we went to. And you just think of like the bucks that are back there that they never even seen a person. They never
Yeah.
even seen a human being. Probably
Yeah.
most of them.
Yeah.
And the reason why I keep coming back to the Adirondacks, and I haven't hunted it super hard yet, and I plan on it. It's just I'm hunting some really good deer in New Hampshire, so
Mhm.
I kind of been focusing a lot of my scouting stuff in the summer over there. But the reason why I keep coming back to the Adirondacks is because I truly feel like it's like the last frontier of the East.
Couldn't agree more.
It's
Yeah.
the last frontier. Like
It is.
you cannot like every time I come over here, I just feel like to me I'm like a kid in a candy store because I feel like, you know, like let's say where I am from,
Mhm.
and it's all developed. You know, there's nothing bigger than a, let's say, 50,000 acre piece,
Mhm.
which is a big piece.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
It's a big
Yeah.
piece.
It's a huge piece.
But you come over to the Adirondacks,
Mm-hmm.
and there's pieces that are like quadruple that,
Oh yeah.
or more than quadruple that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those.
There's several of them.
Several of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
And that just like drives me crazy just because like
awesome.
what you just said, there's bucks that live and die and never ever see
Die of
person.
old age.
I think a lot of them actually do end up coming out to yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do
Yes.
come out,
Mhm.
Yes.
but you're probably right though, especially on that western stuff.
Mhm.
They probably never come out, man. They just live and die out there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you should never give up on a trek, but I mean, in the Adirondacks, the reality is sometimes you're going to give up on a trek because it's only going to get wilder, and at some point you got to call a spade and say, he got me today, because I mean, you can't go
Right.
15 miles freaking deep one way.
No, you can't.
You know, you got to come out.
You got to come
And
out.
I thought it was interesting too that you said in your last podcast that your average day is about 8 miles. I
Yeah.
think you were talking specifically about bear grounding, and I would say we're pretty close to that. But sometimes we'll see guys talk about like hey, you know, third 14-mile day, and I'm like, man, I don't know where you're hunting.
They're lying,
You
man.
are not doing 14 miles in the Adirondacks.
They're
Not where
lying.
we're hunting.
Ah.
Too tall.
I mean,
Dude, when people say that, I'm like,
I'm sure there are guys that are doing multiple days like
oh
that.
yeah, I'm
but
not
Do you want another
questioning.
one,
I
Isaac?
just-
They're running marathons.
I guess
yeah, I'll
I'm
have
impressed,
no.
if anything.
Well, they're running marathons in the off season.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, in an 8 mile day is an average in the mountains.
Yeah.
You know, when I get in some flatter stuff, I might be able to do a little more on average. but
right.
8 miles in the mountains, you're doing a stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and you do that for 4 or 5 days
Well,
in a
you-
row, you're doing a big.
You got to
stroke.
think
Yeah.
you're on the elliptical machine in the gym,
Mhm.
like all day long when you're hiking up there.
I've always equated it to doing lunges all day uphill,
Yeah.
downhill, uphill, down. I mean,
Yeah.
you could never even convince yourself to do that in an exercise type setting, but you don't even think about it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I think a 6 mile day is pretty consistent for me. I can usually leave at 6 miles and be pretty happy with what I had hunted for the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and some days, you just tend to walk a little bit farther than others. There's other days where you feel like you worked your balls off and you went 4.3. You hardly even went anywhere.
Yeah.
So it depends on the country because, we're used to the southeastern Adirondacks, super tall. And then, like you said, the western Adirondacks actually starts to level out just a little bit. And it's not quite as tall out there. It's actually real fun to get on a track out there because you can just go and never really, get too winded.
It's kind of like, at least where I've hunted out there, is like kind of like rolly almost. Like it's way more.
It's just a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
I had a real crazy day when I was like 20. I got on a buck track, and I don't think I've ever told this story on a podcast.
Tell all the stories you can.
Well,
Love it.
I don't know. Like, I have a number in my head that I think is the amount of miles that I walked, but I just don't want to say it just because.
Say it. Just throw it out there. It's all right.
It was from Lake Placid area,
Mm-hmm.
is where the truck was parked, and I got picked up near Keene Valley, which is
the fact that you said Keene Valley means you went a pretty good ways because Keene Valley is pretty huge.
Yeah.
It was a long ways, man. And I went through these big, huge notches and the high peaks on this buck track. He never stopped. He never stopped. He went all the way through. And, I was over 40,000 steps that day, if that tells you anything.
Sure.
So,
Shit,
the first buck I ever shot at on the track, I was reading the manual on this buck big time. I feel my tracking has gotten better in time where I am actually hunting on the track and I'm learning for myself and making better decisions. But this was a manual track where I saw nothing about 2 hours in, and I come on this beautiful, now I know that it was a huge buck track. I knew it was a buck track at the time, but looking back, this was a big buck track, and he's coming right up into the top of this mountain, and he's been pawing on this like slate side face that's got ferns on it, and manual says buck's feeding, gotta slow down.
Yep.
So I'm absolutely crawling on this buck. I mean, I'm looking down at my feet and turning my ankle sideways to fit it down into blowdowns and stuff.
Yep.
And at one point my brain says look up, and I look up and there's a buck standing up in his bed like, I don't know, 12 yards from me, and he's a slammer.
Yep.
Oh, he was so wide. I put the scope up on him, and I put it right on his neck because that's all I could see is his antlers in his neck. And I pull the trigger, whirl of snow, and I just missed him clean.
Yep.
I go like 300 yards on his track. I'm moving right on him immediately. I didn't know any better. My adrenaline's going, dude. I'm pumped. This freaking thing's a hammer. I can hardly get Corey on the radio. Can't believe I missed. First buck I ever missed with a rifle. Lot since then.
Oh, yeah.
And the big ones.
And there'll be more, too.
Oh, dude, it's humbled me big
Everybody
time.
does it, so.
I catch him standing, looking back on his backtrack in the hardwoods, like 70 yards out in front of me. Take another poke at him. He hunches up a little bit, so I knew I hit him, but I didn't think well the way he took off, and so there's a little bit of the blood in the snow. Point of the story is I did 14 miles on him that day, and wow, dude, I was dragging coming out. I mean, I could hardly move my feet. When I got back to the truck, I was begging Corey for water, and thank God he had like a half a bottle. I don't know where that bottle of water came from, but I didn't care.
You probably don't want to know.
No, I did. But, I mean, that was one of the – I mean, I've been hooked on tracking ever since. I mean, wow, what a buck. It kills me. He probably wasn't as big as he is in my mind, but in my mind he's huge still.
He can be as big as you want him to
yeah,
be. In your
that's
mind.
right.
As far
But,
as as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny how much smaller the mountains seem when you're on a buck track.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know,
was
it's
just
like-
gonna say that you
yeah.
can get like, and I have had this like I'm so consumed in what I'm doing, specifically tracking, because he's right here, and you're like, oh maybe he's here, maybe he's gonna be right here, and you get so consumed in it that time is just
Goes
nothing.
away.
It's gone, dude.
Yeah,
it's
so
gone,
awesome.
and you're just going and going. And I've had those days where I come back and I'm like, holy shit, I did 12 miles today.
Yeah.
I felt like I did 2. Like I
Yeah.
was just having so much fun out there. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have a story from this year in Vermont. Actually, I was with my buddy Gilly, and we were just chasing snow around the state. And I'm not making excuses, but this year I didn't really get to hunt my favorite areas much.
Mm-hmm.
I was chasing snow north of me quite a ways,
Yep.
and it's tough up that way.
Yep.
More in the central Green Mountains. It's
Mhm.
Okay.
real tough hunting. Not a lot of deer, not a lot of big ones, but whatever. So we head up on this ridge, and we split off, and we kind of we do separate swings. It was in the afternoon, and we had already done quite a few miles that day in another area, and we come down off to the truck, and this old boy comes by. He stops when he sees us getting into the truck. He's like, "Hey, nice buck just crossed right down the road." We're like, "Come on, no way." He's like, "Yeah, at least an 8-pointer just crossed." I'm like, "Gilly, let's go." So we get in the truck, we fly right down the road, and we see the tracks clear as day where he hopped across the road. So we ditched the truck. We get out. It's like, well, bud, you want to double team this thing or what? You know, it's like a half an hour before dark.
How's the track look?
Decent.
Yeah.
150, 160 pound deer. Pretty average.
Good enough.
Good enough. Yeah. I mean, I'd take that any day in that area.
Absolutely.
And so we head up on this buck track, and I was really dragging that afternoon heading up that ridge. We had went to the top of the ridge and came back down to the truck. But boy, on that buck track, I just skipped up over that hill like nothing. We jumped him like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up bedding down like right off the road, like a couple hundred yards up off the road, and never even saw him. It was kind of loud that day, but anyways, it was just funny. It was funny because I was just dragging so hard that afternoon to get up that hill. It's like
a little spark.
It's like all of my willpower to just 1 foot, another foot.
Yeah,
another foot, and then on that buck track, I'm just like, "Here we go,
here we go."
Yeah, dude, it'll save your soul. It really will.
Yeah.
I know. I think of a buck that me and Corey tracked at the end of the season this year. I mean, Corey was right. He was done. Season been tough. Wasn't working out. Should have been a good day to catch a buck track, and it wasn't happening for us. And I convinced him. I said, let's just finish our loop that we were going to commit to anyways. He just wanted to go back to try. So let's just commit to the loop we were going to make anyways, and we'll be done for the day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't 45 minutes later. We got done plowing through this nasty spruce swamp, and we come to this beautiful buck track, and it's smoking fresh, going right into the swamp. It was like a gift from God. And dude, just next thing you know, there goes Corey. I mean, his like a beagle on a track. Yeah, like a beagle on a track. All of a sudden, his entire demeanor changed, and we spent the rest of the day and we got, just like you said, we got down in the swamp. Dude, we're just doing circles with this buck, and he's just beating us the entire time. I know you mentioned last podcast, you get in the swamps, and it's just
oh my gosh, yeah, tracking.
We could not get. It got to the point where I was like, dude, can we please just get him out of here? Like, no more poking along on this track. Let's get him out of here.
Get him up and out of there.
And he just wouldn't go out.
And that's what I've found too. They'll run circles in there, and they know they have the advantage.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to catch them in there.
So many places.
And that's how I know.
You'd have to catch them in there. Like, that's,
right.
Yeah.
That's how you'd kill them.
And we were losing snow, pouring rain that day. And
stilts, maybe.
Stilts, right.
Get them on stilts.
Drone, calling the drone.
Yeah.
But that's also how I know my tracking has evolved, is like I knew enough to say, like, dude, it's not going to happen in here. Let's get this buck out of here. And boy, if we could have got him up on a ridge, probably been all right.
Yep.
But that's how it goes, and it still made a good story. We still left that day having. Me and Corey have always said, when you're hunting, and I know you got a couple buddies you hunt with, like, dude, sometimes the best part about the hunt is the ride back home that day.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
yeah,
freaking
camaraderie.
That's such a big part of it. I mean,
is.
I say it all the time. Like, it's one of the biggest parts. Like, obviously, I love hunting and love being out there and doing it, but like, if I didn't have these guys to do it with, dude, it would not be the same.
And it never fails. Every time we have a rough day in the woods, about 10 minutes into the drive back, I miss the woods already.
Oh, yeah.
Right, dude? It never fails. I'm like, I cannot wait to get back up.
You just want to be right back in there.
Yeah.
Just want to be right back in there.
Yeah.
Have you ever, this is a little off topic, but have you ever done like the tent camp thing?
I haven't. But
No.
I just bought a tent, and I want to.
Dude,
I want to get
you
into
should.
it.
It's awesome. It is awesome.
Have you
I mean,
done
literally, we did it not this past season, the season before. Our camp was 2-3 miles back in there.
Yeah, it was like 2.7, so we just kept calling it 3.
Yeah.
Can we pause for a sec?
Yeah.
Because you're pretty minimalist anyways, man.
Yeah.
So, like, it ain't nothing for you to be sleeping on the ground.
Right, yeah. No,
basically.
I have a cot.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I bought one. I have the whole setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a stove. I have a cot. and it's like a nice cot too. Well, it's a Coleman, but it has like a foam pad and there's like springs and stuff. So,
What kind of stove do you have?
It's an Amazon stove.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what we got.
we found that unless you burn crazy good wood, you get creosote about 4 inches thick within
Bad,
just a
dude,
month of
bad.
hunting out of camp. So just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of wood that I have split in my garage.
Okay.
So like I figured I was gonna use it like my idea with it was I was kind of like gonna just like, oh, there's a pull off. I'm in some snow. Throw up the tent.
Right.
Camp there.
Sure.
But like I can see what you're saying when you're getting like back in. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna do like deep tenting.
Sure.
That would be.
And we were trying to be real careful that we were following the laws. We weren't
Mm.
cutting it through. So we were
Yep.
getting in with the punky stuff. And not only was it really not making awesome heat, but we couldn't believe what that pipe looked like at the end of the season.
Dude,
we
really
were
was like clogged up.
Oh, dude. It was done.
Almost
Like,
all the
there was
way
no more
full.
smoke coming up through that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed with the little stove that I got off Amazon is the first time I had a fire in it in my backyard. The paint, it had like black paint all around
Uh-huh.
it. Like paint's like smoking off of it. I'm like, oh my
You've been
gosh.
passing
yeah.
out in the tent.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna have to burn a few more, fires in it or whatever to get all the paint off of it. But,
Right.
I kind of have the idea that I'd like to. I don't even know if it's legal or not, but go in the summertime, put the tent out somewheres, have it kind of all ready to go. Is that legal? You guys?
Well, I as far as the Adirondacks, you have to go get a permit, and
Okay.
the permit is what I think it's October or something.
Yeah,
in October,
it
at
was
some
pretty.
point.
It was pretty open. The ranger was very very good to deal with, and he let us have some free range, but he laid the ground rules for what was definitely not going to happen, and he basically asked us not to put camp up until we were about 2 weeks out from deer season.
Okay, good
so
to
that
know.
did make it tough though,
Good to know.
because you're going to bring everything in
You
last
gotta go
minute.
when you're going.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I almost,
Could you pick out a spot though that you're going to put camp ahead of time?
Right, I
Go
was
and just
just gonna
split
say
wood. Yeah, hide it under a tree or I
tarp,
shouldn't say hide.
maybe?
You don't have to hide it, but yeah, get it under a tarp or something.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest problems we ran into was the
Was
whole wood thing being wet.
How long did you guys go out for?
like at a time?
Yeah.
Like how long did we go out
usually
there?
3 days at a rip.
Yeah, 3 days. I think one time Corey and I had went up there and we stayed out there for 4 days. But yeah,
Mhm.
Did you guys
Yeah.
get into bucks out in there?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we had good hunting out there because it's beautiful, dude. You just go right out at camp and you're already hunting.
You're hunting it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I shot into one.
Yeah, I shot into a real good buck and I didn't catch it. I didn't think spruce would deflect as much as they do, but they do.
Mhm.
I shot him point
Yep.
blank and never killed him, and I had it right on his chest. So I don't know what happened there, but
Happens, man.
yeah, that'll happen. So I had one deflect on that, but camp was great. I know that, in my opinion, cooking over the fire is not as awesome as you think. Like, it's just a pain, dude. It's a
Yeah.
process, and like
Yep.
just bring a jet boil or anything else. You can bring a little propane stove you can
Mhm.
cook on. That was a pain in the butt, but the camaraderie again is just second to none, dude. When there's no service and it's just you and the boys, and I don't know, somebody farts in the tent, and it's the funniest thing that happened all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So that's a
cool.
good time. You do great hunting out of camp, man.
I really want to.
It-
and
And shouldn't we all have a picture of a buck hanging in
Oh
camp?
my
Like
gosh.
Dude, we had
everybody's
a-
supposed
the
to have
first
that.
thing we did when we got up here and set this tent up, we
Put a
we,
buck pole
we hung
up.
a buck pole up.
Nice.
Never shot a buck out of the
Well, I
camp.
mean, you kind of screwed yourself, right?
Yeah,
There you go,
yeah.
right?
Well, I should. Corey shot one on that mountain. He actually wasn't in tent camp that weekend. He went
Yeah.
up from the parking lot, but he shot one up there.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, it seems like everything, like, you don't realize how much work everything is until you get up there and you're like,
Yeah,
oh my God. Like, there was a day where Corey and I were like, man, like, we're beat. Like, I was like, I don't want to go hike today, and we're up here. So we sat there for, I don't know, a good part of the day, like 4 or 5 hours just doing wood.
Yep.
Because you have to.
What's a part of it? Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're going to be
Cold.
a cold mofo up there.
Yeah. You
You
guys,
know?
did you have snow when you were back in there? or
No,
just bare
no
ground?
snow. Honestly, we were pretty lucky when we had it. We didn't really. We had like I think 2 days of rain when we were up there that I could remember.
Yep.
Which is huge because if you get wet, I mean, you're basically screwed. You're not going to be drying stuff out for the most
No.
part.
Right.
But we're like you, like we hunted out of camp until the snow started flying, and then the wheels were just hitting the road. Wherever
Yeah,
we-
you were looking.
we were pretty much probably Western Adirondacks for the rest of the season.
Were you?
It was
You
the
guys
good
like it
snow
out there?
Well, just the snow
Oh,
seems
the
to hit
snow,
out there.
yeah. It always does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like it's really weird. We've noticed like certain pockets year in year out that get the snow.
Oh yeah.
Like we just got a new camp up the Adirondacks.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, and for whatever reason, this is just in this little pocket where everywhere around it won't get any snow, or they'll get very little snow, and this always gets the snow that like up in the northern parts get for
Yep.
whatever, or at least
Mhm.
an extent of it.
Yeah, it's
Lake
just one of those
effect.
weird spots.
Yeah.
Yep, and
Lake
there's a
effect.
large lake near
Yes,
us. So
that's
what
exactly
it is.
what it is. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, just follow the snow, man, and do that. But I will say I really do like hunting bucks on bare ground.
Yep.
Mhm.
You know, it's
It is
still
fun,
it's
yeah.
it is. It's a lot of fun to me. So I know one of the things I want to talk to you about too is you had mentioned that you really like getting up in the green tops. And you
Oh,
find
yeah.
your biggest bucks up in the green tops. And I know
Yeah, and the spruce.
I know Lanny says the same thing.
Oh,
Big ones
yeah.
are up top, and his father told him that.
Yep.
It is amazing how you can walk through a sea of hardwoods and
Mhm.
never cut a deer track, and then you get up in the top in those spruces, and boy, it gets spooky.
Yep.
You come right onto some slammer buck tracks, man. And they're usually a lot of times they can be pretty fresh because he's hanging up there, like you said, he won't leave.
Yeah, they don't come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, especially on the really big mountains. It's weird because a lot of the really big mountains, when you're like hiking up in there, you're like, there's no way there's a deer up here.
Mhm.
It's so high. You're
Yeah.
getting way up in that stuff. There's like cliffs and like all sorts of stuff. You're like looking up over all the country around you, and you're like, there's no way there's a deer up here.
Mhm.
And you get up in there, and big old buck usually, but that's kind of a risk you got to take though.
Yeah.
Because if it could take you all day to get up in there, and if there's not a big buck up there, you
Sure.
just burned a day.
Yeah.
You had a good hike.
You got a good workout in is what you got. And-
Yeah.
But it's a part of it.
Yeah, and I think you just gotta try and let that part go and just commit to it, because I
You
think
do.
more times than not you're gonna find the track you're looking for up there.
Yeah, you are, especially on those really big mountains.
And that's the thing. I think it has to be, to an extent, the big mountains, because you can't go to
yeah.
the top of a little mountain. There's
Nope.
just not enough room up there.
Yeah, there's not, and I mean, tall is where I think a lot of the bigger ones are.
Mhm.
The big, because that's where the people don't go.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I was kind of focused over in that high peak stuff,
Mhm.
because that stuff is just so untouched. Like nobody.
We've
hunts
never
it.
been there.
Yeah, no.
I went there one day, and I wasn't even hunting. I was filming,
Mhm.
and I was just like looking at some of the mountains. I'm like, dude, this doesn't even.
So that's a lot of what the whites look like, and the whites are even
Right.
crazier in some spots, like pointy, jagged.
and you've hunted
cliffy.
them quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've hunted those quite a bit, and it's kind of like what I like.
Yeah.
Just because like when I hunted in the high peaks, I never saw another hunter. I never saw
Right.
another
And you
truck,
probably won't.
and you
yeah.
won't,
Yeah.
because nobody's dumb enough to go on it.
Yeah.
And that's why But I will say in the high peaks is probably the least amount of deer I've ever seen
Sure.
anywhere.
Oh, I believe that.
Anywhere.
100%. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like less than Vermont, less than like there's not a lot going on up there, but I mean
Yeah.
I think there's probably some 250s running around those hills.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I know so.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know so.
Don't
Really?
do this to me.
yeah. Don't tell us.
No, I'm serious.
I'll
I know.
get to climbing, boy.
Because I've been to reporting stations and I've seen the numbers.
Oh boy.
I know,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but
Interesting.
there's some huge mountains, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would have to imagine too that when I think of the high peaks of the Adirondacks, I think of mountains that'll have snow caps on them when nothing else has snow either, just because of the elevation alone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'd have to
there you
think there's snow up there even when you ain't got snow anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some like the ski mountains, like
The
way
guys
up
in the
high
high peaks and like, God Almighty, move on already.
Yeah, like stop
Yeah.
talking
let
about
me tell
this.
you, there's not a lot of guys in the high peaks. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that. I mean, when I was driving all around that country hunting it, like I didn't see any trucks, like,
Right.
and you won't because there's no deer,
Sure.
But
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Go ahead and try hunting there. You
Yeah,
probably
there's no
won't want
deer.
to for very long.
no, it's gonna take a special kind of dude to hunt it. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say, the biggest buck track I ever saw in New York was on the biggest mountain in New York,
Yeah.
and there was a boot track on it. I will say that.
Okay.
What? Really?
I swear, yeah, it was the biggest. It's the biggest buck track I think.
Sure.
It might be the biggest buck track I've ever seen in my life,
Wow.
In New York.
Yeah. Awesome.
and it was in New York. And like I let
Wow.
people kind of connect the dots,
Right.
but it was on the
Well,
biggest mountain in New
Hey,
York.
take
Yeah.
that. Hey, everybody, take that. Who says anything
Yeah.
about New York?
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
We got the big bucks over here.
No, it was a huge track.
Well, I know Hal
huge.
always says that we have the little box.
Yeah. Hey, we got a
Well,
little
it's
bunch.
because
But I've
he's
seen
hunting-
some good tracks
He's
too.
hunting south, man.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know where he's hunting, but I would assume he's hunting western,
Yeah.
southern Adirondacks. And
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
you get up in them high peaks, it's a different ball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what. I know for a fact I haven't come across a 200-pound buck track
Man,
because I feel like if you see that, I mean, you obviously know what they look like.
Mhm.
Like I feel like if I look down on the ground, I'm gonna be like, that's the biggest track I've ever seen in my life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Have you
right?
ever seen one that was like you look at it and you're like, oh my god?
Oh yeah,
You've seen those?
Absolutely. Like I've followed bucks and came damn close one day when Corey was filming me. We got on a.
Were they this big? Because his chances are, if it was, he was probably 200.
It was big.
I don't know if I've seen a
It wasn't.
hand-sized
It wasn't.
track. If
It
you
wasn't
see-
hand.
If
But
you see a hand-sized track, and
I'll
there's-
show you a
they have
picture
a
after
good
this.
width to them,
Mm-hmm.
they're big.
I'll show you a picture after this pod. It was a big one. Like I looked at it and I'm like, this is biggest buck I've ever followed.
But another side of things is the feet really don't have.
And we've also seen that too.
Yeah,
like
you can't.
we've seen it
really-
over
yeah.
and over again. Corey's buck that he killed last year, he got on it and he was like, I don't know, like I don't think it's. I mean, that thing ended up being almost 135 inches. Like that's a nice buck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only 140 pounds, but
No, I don't think he was like 124.
Corey's? No, mine was 125. this
Sleepy
year.
Joe?
Yeah.
He was about 124.
Was he? I thought it
Yeah.
was 140.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was
So-
about 124 when we put him on the scale.
So yeah, I mean that happens,
Yeah.
but and sometimes they'll have big feet, but like if you're on a hand-sized track and they have a good stagger and a good stride, they're over 200.
Yeah.
They're gonna be, or they're at least gonna be in the 180s, 190s. You're up there.
And
but-
which is also something that I personally haven't seen a lot of in the Adirondacks. I don't know if you have being up here, but like I know you hear guys talk about stagger all the time. I see, like, yes, you can definitely tell when you're on a buck. You can be like, okay, yes, he does have more stagger than doe, but I don't feel like we get like a true stagger in the Adirondacks.
well, it's the areas you're hunting.
Yeah.
You're hunting south, man, and there are 200-pound bucks in the southern Adirondacks, but if you want those big deer, you got to go north.
Right.
And you got to hunt in the big mountains. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying I know it all. I'm just saying that's what I've seen.
No, I mean, it
Yeah,
makes
that's what I-
sense because
we've heard others say pretty much the same.
same thing.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I want to get over to Vermont in the worst way eventually. It's definitely a box I want to check, but it's just
Yeah.
hard for me to leave a New York tag.
I hear
know.
you, man, and that's kind of why
Flip flop for you. We
I
all
did,
take
yeah.
pride in where you hunt. You
Yeah,
know, type
yeah.
of thing.
absolutely.
Home
Well, I mean, the only
state.
reason I got over to Vermont this year is because I filled my tag. So, like, I was
Right.
like, where am I? Okay, I guess I'm going to Vermont
And,
today.
and what did you think of Vermont? You liked it?
Awesome, dude. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, that I more consistently found big buck tracks over there bigger than the Adirondacks, 100%. I mean, I think I messaged you that.
Yeah. You said that, and I think the areas that you were hunting are some of the most under-hunted areas in the Northeast.
That's crazy that you could pick
Really?
something out on a map, and that would end up. I would assume that he would naturally go towards where everybody else would pick out of not knowing.
One of the spots I had turkey hunted up there, and I was like, man, I know there's big ones running around here. I was dreaming it up, basically. I was like, I know there's big ones running around here. The other spot,
He has the most confidence at all times, so just
That's
take
good.
that into
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like I was dreaming
That's
it
good,
up.
though.
I was
Every
dreaming-
morning in the truck, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna shoot one today, boys." And next day, we're gonna shoot one today.
That's the
I do.
attitude to have.
It is.
do.
It is.
Dude,
I pick on you.
I can't go in the woods and be like,
Yeah, no, you never.
I'm
get
not
one.
going to shoot one. Like, how do you do that? Going in the
Hey.
woods, dude. Every day I go in the woods, I'm like, I'm going to kill one today.
Hype
100%.
man.
I'm
You're
going
the
to kill
hype man.
one. So
I love it.
I don't know. But back to the Vermont thing. I don't even remember. You threw me off.
Sorry,
Dad. I don't even
man.
remember.
No,
where
so
I'm
That
at.
happens.
Basically, I said that the piece that you were hunting is some of the most under-hunted stuff in the Northeast.
Oh yeah.
You had turkey hunted it.
Yeah, so that was the one piece. Then the other piece that I hunted, actually, I actually did run into quite a few people up there.
Yep.
There was quite a few. Actually, a guy ended up giving me a ride back at the end of the day.
Green plates, though.
Yes.
Yeah, you won't see any out-of-staters.
No.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
And I ran into a guy and he was like, yeah, so and so's up here and so and so's up here. He's hunted deer for 20 years. And he goes, if you
Yeah.
want to go shed hunting, there's a yard back down here they come to. He's telling me all
Nice
about
guy.
it and stuff. Yeah.
Nice guy.
But I ended up following a buck up there. I don't want to say the area, but in one of the spots, I ended up following a buck up there, and I followed him all day long, dude. He was just dogging a doe. It was
Yeah.
really funny. The doe would she would come in and she would bed down, and she, like, you could tell, like, she just wanted to lay down. She's exhausted, and that buck would come do a big loop around her, and he would just push her back up out of that bed. He did it 3 or 4 times, and I went till probably about 3:30 on him, and just never caught up. I'm like, I'm never gonna catch him. Which maybe if I kept going, I could have caught up to him, but
right.
I ended up turning back and never got with him. And then the other spot that I hunted, I ended up getting into that big, nasty, steep stuff. And, dude, I jumped this one buck. He was with a doe. I jumped him 5 different times. And every time I got into that big, nasty, steep, ledgy stuff like you've been talking about, the big
Yep.
sea of green,
Yep.
all the spruces. And every time I would jump him, dude, it would just be in the wrong spot. I would always be above them when I was
Yep.
jumping them. But all I could see is their legs moving through the bottom, and I'm like, God damn it! And they end up running down on private and never caught up to them.
Yeah,
So.
that's one of the hard things about Vermont. Like even the real big pieces that you can hunt, like the
Mhm.
big national forest pieces, a lot of the deer are around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's mostly because of habitat. That's where the
Right.
habitat is.
Right.
Right.
You know, if you go like way out deep in the middle of like a 50,000 acre piece in Vermont,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to find a lot of 2-year-old bucks out there because
Yep.
a lot of the big ones are around the edges.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what I've seen.
Oh, I love Vermont, man. It's like taking a
Vermont's
step back
awesome.
in time. You
It
know, like
is.
every time I drive there, I've never driven through Vermont and not said about 100 times in the car, man, it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
And I haven't even seen much of Vermont. You know, I really haven't. I've seen pretty much from like Rutland down to what would be like outside Hoosick Falls there, Bennington. That's pretty much all I've seen is like that real short western border of
Oh yeah.
Vermont.
I spent a good portion of my younger life in Vermont. I mean, you're familiar with probably Lake St. Catherine, right?
Oh, yeah.
My best buddy has a lake house over there. And
Oh, no kidding.
Before I started hunting, I was a fisherman. That's all I ever did, man. And we traveled through those mountains, God, everywhere.
Trout fishing?
Trout, bass,
Yeah.
everything.
I love trout fishing. I don't
Oh,
really have
yeah.
any time to do it anymore, but I used to love catching big browns.
Oh yeah.
There's some
Yep.
big brown trout in Vermont.
Oh yeah, there
in
is.
the rivers, man.
Yep.
There's some huge
Yup,
browns.
yup.
I think it's a pretty like as well as the bat and kill in New York. Like Vermont's like very sought after by avid trout fishermen.
Oh, yeah.
right? Oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
Orvis,
100%.
Orvis is based right out of
No,
Manchester,
I know.
Vermont.
Wow,
so-
I feel really stupid. You're 100% right. Yeah, that would be a big part of it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. I've been kind of peeking at my phone quick because I wanted to make sure that I was touching on some of the things. I know one thing I wanted to chat with you about, Drew. 'Cause you run a fair amount of trail cameras, do you not? Or am I
Yeah,
wrong?
a lot. Yeah,
Okay.
I run a lot of them.
How do you feel about hunting some of these bucks that are just ghosts? Like their trail camera, you know, they're on trail cam all the time. I was trying to come up with some fancy word. I got nothing.
That's all right. You
But
give me
when
a
it comes
shot.
to hunting them, it's like you can't find them.
So if I have a buck on trail camera all the time, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And do you feel like when we first came into this, man, it was like bucks just wandered. You can't pattern a buck in the big woods, and I agree.
Yeah.
But I think you can to an extent. I think bucks like they pick out their spots and they enjoy those spots and spend some time there.
Early in the year,
Okay.
I think.
Sure.
Early in the year, I think if you can get one kind of pattern or you get a lot of pictures of them, I think you can get right on them.
I don't think every buck is nomadic to the point where he's just like a traveling gypsy dude and never lays his hat somewhere twice. Like they come back to certain areas.
Yeah, some of them. But I've also seen other, like, some bucks that are just super nomadic. Like, I'm hunting one in Vermont now. The one that I said I kind of, like, located towards the end of rifle season this year.
Yep.
My buddy's got a picture of him, like, 4 or 5 miles away 2
Wow.
years ago. And, like, I spent 3 or 4 weekends after Mass closed. So, like, basically the last 2 or 3 weekends just pounding the woods before we got all the snow, and I'm just looking for any sign of this deer, and I just can't find anything. And it's
So he's probably just one of those.
he's one of
bucks.
those, and there are deer that are like that. They just wander. I've seen it. I mean, probably one of the biggest Vermont bucks I ever hunted. He was like a mid 150s 8-point with no brows.
Oh my
Just
God.
No
he's a-
brows.
No brows.
No
But-
brows.
Well,
over there.
he had brows, but they're like 3
Little
inches
ones,
long.
yeah.
And
This thing must have had a frame on him, 150-inch
I
8-pointer.
can show you after
Oh,
the podcast.
definitely,
Yeah, I got a
definitely.
picture of him.
Probably
on my
looks
phone
like
for
one
you.
of those bucks from out west. Just
He's huge, man. Yeah, and he was well over 200 pounds, and I couldn't find the deer.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going everywhere trying to find this thing. I mean, only thing I could think is he was down in like houses.
So
really.
what tells you like I'm gonna kill this buck? Just the consistency
Yeah,
of it?
so like in the big woods, if I get a buck on camera consistently, he's a homebody. I'm gonna get him.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get on him. Maybe
Sure.
I shouldn't have said I'm gonna kill him, but I'm gonna get on him.
Right.
I'm gonna get on him. Even if it's all nighttime stuff, I'm gonna get on him.
I
Yeah.
love that. And
Yeah.
are you hunting him over your camera, or you're
No.
okay? You're gonna try and figure out where he's
Just find
spending
his
his
track.
time.
I just find his track.
Oh, you're when it snows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You
Okay.
okay? I'm thinking from a bear
You're
ground
thinking
standpoint.
bear
Yeah,
ground.
no, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
So I don't even really like you guys open so early. I feel like the bare ground stuff is so much more prevalent to you
Definitely.
guys.
It's huge, dude. I mean,
Because-
we spend the first half of our first quarter of our season on.
No,
bear
I would say
ground, you
first
know?
half of our season.
First
on bear
half,
ground.
Yeah, like when the season opens for us, I can find snow.
Mm-hmm. That's
I did.
crazy.
I hunted snow every day of Vermont rifle that I hunted. I had to travel to get it,
yeah.
but I got it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can find snow in Vermont usually every day.
Yeah, and now we say that, but again, we don't hunt the high peaks, so like there could be snow up there that we're
Yeah,
unaware of.
yeah.
But the half of our season is definitely on bare ground.
Right. Yeah, like in October. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Vermont's bare too in October. Like if the season opened there too, I would be on bare ground. I'm usually in October. I'm most likely going to be bow hunting in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Trying to shoot one of those.
What a
deer.
hidden gem that state is. Dude.
Yeah, it is. Well, so I
I feel like Vermonters are always torn between hunting Vermont and New Hampshire. It's like,
well, I'm not torn. I'd rather
Yeah.
hunt New Hampshire.
Dude, listen. Hey, I've seen enough over there to know that state is.
It's pretty good, man.
it's
pretty good.
ridiculous.
I mean, the habitat. The there's so much more land in New Hampshire because like there's kind of like a sweet spot. I feel like north and south that I've kind of found.
Yep.
What is that? Is that longitude? Is longitude the ones that go horizontally?
Sure, you're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah. So
I'm not very
whatever.
smart.
Like north and south, I've kind of found this like really nice line. All the way across from Maine to New York. It seems like a really good belt. And Vermont's belt in that line is pretty skinny, right? So you go over to New Hampshire and it's just huge.
Is it like the NEK? Is that real skinny piece in Vermont?
No. So the Northeast Kingdom is actually the widest part of Vermont.
Okay.
Or not widest, but like the widest part of the state.
Okay.
The northern part. So it's like Vermont and New Hampshire are kind of flipped upside down next to each other.
Okay. Yeah.
So New Hampshire, the southern part to mid part is the fattest part.
Okay.
Whereas Vermont, the southern, part to
skinny's
right down. So I feel like that's what hurts Vermont a lot.
Right.
Because where that like kind of golden zone is, I'm kind of giving away a lot of stuff here, but that's all right.
I can cut it out.
Yeah, no, leave it in, man. But I think that's what hurts Vermont a lot of times is that like really nice country. We don't have a lot of it. There's only so much land you can hunt in that nice zone, whereas you go over to New Hampshire and there's just so much of that.
I've looked on the maps in Vermont and the northern part. There ain't a lot there.
In the north
to hunt publicly, right? That's what we're talking about.
Right. So no, what I'm saying is basically like kind of centrally to south in Vermont. That's like real good stuff, and it's skinny.
Okay.
But when you go over to New Hampshire,
it's vast.
It's vast.
I got you.
Because that's where it gets big.
That's where it gets big again in New Hampshire. So I'm saying that's what kind of hurts Vermont a lot. Like you go up Northeast Kingdom, it's like Maine up there.
Right.
It's all log country. It's real tough hunting. I actually went up there this year for the first time, and it was very tough. A lot of pressure.
Really?
A lot of guys riding roads looking for tracks.
Well, I guess if it's like that Maine type style,
it's a lot like Maine. You go up Northeast Kingdom, man. And I think a lot of guys go up in there from all states.
Yeah. That is one thing, and we've said this a million times on the podcast. Like that is something I'm grateful about the Adirondacks. That it's not cut. Obviously, it's not the best for the woods for it not to be cut, but I do like the fact that there's not roads going everywhere throughout the mountains.
Yes.
I like that. Some people don't, but I like it.
And see, that's the thing. Like my style is I'm more of a big mountain hunter. So that's why I kind of like this zone that I'm talking about. That's more south because when you go super far north, it's all just logged. And there are some big mountains up north too, but a lot of that stuff is just cut over really hard. It's tough tracking. And, it just seems like, but like back to New Hampshire, that's what hurts Vermont. I feel like in that kind of zone, big mountains, whatever. We only have like a little tiny bit.
Right.
Where you go over to New Hampshire, it's just a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot more oak in New Hampshire, I've noticed.
Oh, interesting.
Dude, a lot more oak.
New Hampshire has everything, dude. They have berries everywhere. They have oaks everywhere.
Yep.
Dude, they have everything. As far as what I've seen over there, like it's a whole different world, whole different ball game.
Never been.
There's
at least the part that I was in.
There's not a lot of deer in the areas that I hunt. I actually think there's probably fewer deer in New Hampshire where I hunt than there is in Vermont. But there's some good ones.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it.
Yeah. Dude, I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say there might not be as many, but I could tell you this. I can't say this for a fact because I don't know. But like from what I've witnessed, there's more mature bucks.
There is. Yeah, there's more mature bucks in New Hampshire than there is.
Yeah.
Especially, in that bigger stuff, the stuff that you could tell everyone there's big bucks in and they're still not going to hunt it.
Yeah.
Because they're physically not able. And then you only have a tiny little percentage of guys that are physically able that even have the skill to hunt it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's like you can tell everybody and their brother, Go hunt the big mountains in New Hampshire. There's big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's still not going to hurt it.
Yeah.
No, it's something I'm just curious of, and like for anybody listening, like I don't know if this is going to give away too much or not, but like when you say you found this band,
Yeah.
like what are you doing? Like how are you looking at a map and being like, are you looking at a map? Or are you going to areas? Like
Yeah,
what?
going to areas. I mean, like, especially in the summertime, in the spring, shed hunting. I've just recently got into shed hunting really hard.
It's awesome. Dude.
Last spring, I found 13 antlers. So
Did you really?
Yeah. So
That's a good season.
before that, I'd only found 3 in my life. So last year was like my big push. And
Right.
I've been really like picking Connor's brain and stuff. And,
yeah,
and he's
is
been
he pretty good?
Oh yeah, Connor's top notch shed hunter. So
I wish he was here. I would love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, well, he's in the woods right now.
He's probably in the woods shed hunting right now while we're talking.
with a headlamp. Yeah, dude, that guy's a savage. I say that all the time. People don't believe me. He is.
Oh yeah, what a season he had, huh?
Oh,
Not
yeah,
to get off topic,
He's a
but
freaking animal. Yeah, but he's got the time and he's got the skill,
mhm.
and that's what matters.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, back to what you said. I've just covered a lot of that ground. I've seen it. I've put my boots on it. And I kind of have a good idea. I've always been super nomadic.
Yep.
Like in the way I hunt. I've always just wandered like crazy. I might not hunt the same ridge twice in a year. And I think that's really helped me feel out things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I have like a really good like meter of like, okay, what's good and what's not.
Because you've seen
But,
so
like,
much.
because I've seen so much of it.
Mhm.
I've seen what's good, what's not.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how I've found that band. But I think the band I'm talking about is more or less just the bigger mountains.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's the
Gotcha.
big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And right around like the county that I live in,
Yep.
there's a lot of big mountains. And then
Oh, yeah.
you go straight over to New Hampshire, you go a little farther north, there's a lot of big mountains. And
Yeah.
you come over here a little north, there's a lot of big mountains. It's
Yeah. And me and Corey have talked a lot too about how, I mean, just like you said, man, I mean, getting an eye for certain woods that you like, the good woods, as Rodney Elmer would say, which,
Oh, yeah.
I love that. It's what it is. It's good woods.
yeah.
But also just crossing out the stuff that you're not going back to.
Yep.
Not anytime soon anyways, unless the buck track brings you in there. But
Yeah.
that's a huge part.
And I'm funny too. Like I'll go into a piece of woods and I'll just hate it. And maybe
Yeah.
the next year I'll hear somebody shoots a 224 inch non-typical.
I
I was
know.
like, well, I hated it, so I don't care.
But it's so
You know?
funny that like what it does for you when you're in a piece of woods where you're just like, oh, dude, I know there's a buck in here that I want to go kill, and like what that does for your confidence while you're hunting,
Oh yeah.
second to none, dude. Like you need that when you're out
I just
there.
usually want to slap a camera in there.
Well, that's just
Yeah,
like where
right.
I killed my buck this year. The first time I went there, I'm like, dude, I like this piece of woods. Like this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And then next time I go in there, I kill a buck. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
I really haven't used my camera as much for doing a ton of scouting. I just love seeing who's sneaking around in
So
there.
do you run quite a few?
No.
Yeah.
No, I would say if I have 5 out
yeah.
in the big woods,
Yep.
that's a lot for me. And they're so spread out that there's never going to be any sort of
No
like
mix-
building.
yeah.
I just like to put them on a scrape if I come across one or whatever. And
Yep. Yeah, I run a pile of them. I probably have close to 30 of them out right now.
Oh, awesome.
And spread out between Mass, Vermont, and New Hampshire.
Mhm.
I don't have any in New York right now, but I plan to. And what I like to do is I like to find those really big community scrapes, the
Mhm.
ones that you just know when you see them.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
they're
my
perennial,
gosh.
man. They're coming
Yeah,
back
they're
year
coming
after
back
year.
year after year, and I've I think back, I don't think I've ever killed a buck because of a camera. Like I'm looking for genetics, like
Mhm.
genetics more than anything. Like if I find a ridge in, let's say, New Hampshire,
Yep.
and I've never been there, I scout it, find a really big community scrape that I think could be really productive in the fall. I'll slap a camera up on it in August.
Yep.
Maybe I'll never even hunt that area. Come back in the spring, I'll check it. And if it's got crappy looking bucks on it, and maybe some older bucks that just really don't look like they're really
Mm.
anything I'm really impressed with, I won't go back. But I will find areas where it's like, oh my gosh, it's a 125-inch 3-year-old. Like
Right.
it's a young buck, big rack. whoa.
Yeah.
Like it's good
Yeah.
genetics.
That's really, I mean, that's interesting you say it, because I haven't really heard anybody like talk about that before, I guess, like in the big woods, because most people are out like after this buck or this buck when they see it on camera. So it's interesting you say like you're looking for, okay, I'm not looking for this specific buck, but I'm looking for
A good
a
crop
variety
bucks.
of,
Yeah.
you know, like you
Yeah.
just said.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think that's
just-
cool, because I haven't heard a lot of people say that before, honestly.
Yeah, and I've said it on another podcast before too. But I'm looking for. I'm not looking for. I'm looking at the record keeping that's been done for antler scoring. Like New Hampshire, Vermont, Northeast Big Buck Club, and it'll tell you the counties that the bucks come out of.
Right.
And you'll notice trends. Some counties produce more bigger antlered bucks than the others.
Sure.
So it's not hard in my mind to go, okay,
Right.
well this county produced 9 record book deer last year, and then all the other counties produced 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check out that county that produced 9.
Sure.
Right.
And usually there's a really good reason why that county produced 9,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually either there's a ton of public land or some big gnarly mountains
Right.
and ground that makes bucks old, because in the Northeast deer need one thing to get big, and that's age.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you're not going to kill a lot of 140-inch 2-year-olds in the Northeast.
No.
So you got to find areas where they're going to get old.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's just like in the Adirondacks. You're like, people are like, how, and even me, for the like when we first started this, I'm like, how the hell are these bucks getting so big? Like, how are these bucks with, I mean, poor nutrition really in the Adirondacks? How are they getting so big? And it's exactly that. It's age structure,
Age, yeah.
because they're getting so old.
Yeah. When I was a kid, anytime I saw a real big buck, it was usually one of my dad's friends or a family member or something like that, and it was always from up north.
Yep.
It was always bucks shot out of camp.
Yeah.
It's because they had age. I was used to shoot, seeing Southern Zone rifle open guys are just stacking up the 4-pointers. So when a buck came down from up north, it was like, holy crap!
Yeah,
Look at
man.
the size of that thing.
Yep. One thing I am so jealous of, like, I don't know why that made me think of it, is like people who, like, obviously like you grew up in the big woods, right? I mean, ever since you were young, you were in the big woods. Like, dude, I wish I could have had that experience when I
No, I
was.
didn't start until I was 29.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
hunting up there, and
hunting up
it's a big learning curve. So the younger you can start, the better.
Yeah, so like from my house, I could hunt basically anywhere, like just right from my house.
Right.
And the woods were decent sized,
Mhm.
but we were 10-minute drive from 50,000 acres.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No
That's
roads.
awesome.
Can't
Well,
beat
well, it's
that.
funny. This is the house that I grew up in. It's a different house, but same
Yep.
spot that I grew up in. I mean, the Adirondacks are, what, 15, 20 minutes from here?
Right
we just,
down the
I
road, yeah.
mean, like I said, I was fishing and Corey hunted, but we didn't get into it until last couple of years or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Best thing that ever happened to us. We've got to
Yeah.
meet a lot of great people on the way, man. When we were just
Yeah.
bow hunting and screwing around on the farm ground, like, I don't know, we didn't. This has brought it. We got to meet you at Huntstock, dude. It was
Yeah.
the first time I ever shook your hand, and you were super nice. You had your book out with all those cool pictures in it, man. And
Yep.
it's just cool to hear all. I mean, we got to see Hal Blood for the first time, and just see, the first person we walked in and saw was Hal standing there. So it's just been a really nice change. And there's like a real core group of guys. You know what I mean? Like, you can
Yeah.
talk to a lot of people, and it's like they can't talk the talk, so to speak. Like, they're trying to tell you about how they've hunted in the big woods, and then they get tired, and you're like, nah, I mean, you've done it. You might have been there a time or two, but then you talk to guys that are, have done a lot of buck killing over the years, and it's like you could just stand there and be enamored for hours.
It's so weird. It's like almost like when we got into like this whole big woods thing and like fell in love with it. It was like, it's like, it's meant to be. This is what we're supposed to do. Like, these are the people we're supposed to be around. We're meeting people like you. We're meeting people like Brett and all those other guys. And it's just like,
Just have
that's what we're meant to
contacts,
do.
dude. Like, if you're ever up here and you need to crash or something, like, us now, man.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and
Yeah, exactly.
I assume it's the same for all of us with the guys we meet going forward. Just to text you, like, hey, dude, snow in Vermont. It's freaking dry as a bone over here.
Yeah.
That kind
Yep.
of stuff. So
well,
it's cool.
actually, now you say it, I meant to ask you, how do you know Kevin Stone?
So we kind of just met through social media.
Oh, really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw the video
Kevin's
and I was
videos are
like,
cool.
how does he know them?
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's-
if it was through Huntstock or whatever.
No,
but-
no, just like social media pretty much. And actually, he reached out to me a couple years ago when he was starting his YouTube stuff, and he just kind of had some questions and stuff, and he's a good buddy of mine now. So
Oh, no shit. Yeah, I haven't personally met him, but he seems like a good dude.
Oh,
and
yeah,
He's
like
kind
what
of
he
fairly
does.
local to this, right? Not too
No,
terribly far.
No, he's a ways away from
Oh, he
here,
is.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's more west of here, and it's funny. Him and his dad, they're like the real deal. Like his dad lives off grid.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
Really?
Yeah, real deal. Like, oh yeah,
Wow.
they've killed a lot of nice bucks. And
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in getting him on here at some point.
They're-
Definitely.
Yeah.
he is a really good woodsman, and his dad's a really good woodsman.
They're chasing the rabbits
Dude,
like crazy
I
right now.
respect a good woodsman,
Yep.
even if you aren't that great of a hunter. I mean, but
Yep.
I mean that kind of falls into the woodsman thing. But
It
like,
does,
dude,
yeah.
when you have good woodsman skills, dude, I am just so enthralled by that because
Yeah,
I'm just like, how long and what have you seen to get to that point?
right.
It's insane.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
takes a
like
lot of
you
time.
look at like some people go out there and you're like, dude, that's crazy. You look at the people who are building their own like you just said, off-grid cabins and stuff, and I'm like,
But they usually have flannel shirts that are like absolutely just faded to
Yeah,
nothing.
man.
They got
all
their
right,
hands like
we got a
sausages.
little work to do here, Brad.
Oh yeah, no, I got this thing's like brand new. I gotta go roll in some sawdust or something. But Kevin posted a video this season of him shooting a real nice buck, and you can he kind of zooms in on his GoPro.
Oh,
You see
yeah.
the buck sneaking up through. Oh, it freaking fires me up,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
That every
Yeah.
guy that's tracked a buck in snow could picture that exact
Uh-huh.
how it's all going down. That was awesome.
Absolutely. But what do we got for time here?
Doing pretty good.
Hour 42. What do you think?
Damn, dude, you're gonna be our longest podcast by far.
I told
think.
you I can talk all
Oh,
night.
no, that's
so
great.
yeah,
That's
we'll
great.
probably,
Just like tracking the buck through the mountains, time just went by.
That's it.
It was
Yeah,
just easy flowing conversation. That's
yeah,
all.
we
I
can
like
go,
that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add though before we wrap it up? Either of you guys?
I think I'd like to add real quick just to mention we're going to be starting a Northwoods Whitetails
Yeah,
podcast.
absolutely. Plug that. Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of the new thing we're doing, and yeah.
Who's going to be doing that?
Yeah, who's gonna be on it?
Joey Davis and myself will
Sweet.
be the hosts of it, and we're going to be
Awesome.
kind of traveling around and interviewing different hunters. We're going to do a lot of in-house stuff too.
Yep.
So like we'll do some round table discussions between the guys with Northwoods Whitetails.
Sweet,
And-
dude.
Dude, can't wait. That
I
that pumps me up, too.
I mean, that last video you guys came out with was awesome. What was it?
Yeah.
A Hunter's Life, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Tracker's
Or
Life
Tracker's
something like
Life.
that,
Yeah, that was a really cool video. I
Yep.
like that a lot.
I like that you're
So-
doing the in-house thing too, because a lot of times we feel like people probably don't really want to just listen to us talk, but we have some of our most fun conversations just talking amongst us guys, and it's probably not relevant to a lot of people, but
Yeah.
it's still something to listen to, and the same for you guys. Like
Yeah.
even when you run out of something to talk about for some particular topic, or you've talked to a lot of guys, dude, we look forward to just hearing you guys bullshit on on the podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly, and the same goes for you guys. People would want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do
Well, it's
those internal
relatable, man. When
podcasts.
you're,
Yeah.
that stuff's relatable for people who, don't have we're fortunate, man. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
not fortunate because we just kind of did this thing on a whim, but we can put this out there to people,
Right.
and other people don't do that. And when they hear just your friends and you sitting around talking, they're like, "Damn, dude, that's the same thing we do on a Saturday night with the boys, just
Yeah.
drinking beers, talking about stories, and killing bucks."
And there's not enough of it out there, honestly. There's
No.
really not. People are starving for it, and that's why I think do your internal podcasts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's not much out there.
No.
Right.
There's not.
I'm gonna listen to this podcast just to have something to listen to.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean there's only so many serious woodsmen / trackers in the Northeast that want anything to do with media.
Right. That's so true. Dude.
It's the truth,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Because usually woodsman / good tracker is anti-media.
Mhm.
They
Right.
want nothing to do with media. So
100%.
you guys, the door's wide open for
Right.
you boys.
Which I'll say this. I do get a lot of people's perspective on that. Not wanting to have anything
Oh,
to
yeah.
do with this. I
Yeah.
100% get that. And sometimes I
Yeah.
even feel are we doing the right thing? But I mean, obviously I love what we're doing, but I do get their perspective on
So
not wanting that.
my thinking on that is I want to inspire guys to get into it because I don't
100%.
I don't want this thing to die, man. Because
100%.
I think the level of entry into tracking it's so hard to just
Mhm.
be let's say 45 years old and start tracking.
Oh, yeah.
And you've never
You're out of
done
your
it
prime.
before. Well, not just that. You just it's just such a hard thing.
Sure. And there's so much to learn.
If you don't have something like these podcasts or YouTube videos, something to, inspire you or teach you.
Right. Shorten that learning curve.
Way. Yeah.
Dude, and take 100 guys. About 10 of them are going to make it up on the mountain, like on a consistent basis, maybe even 10. And the other thing, too, is that I know a lot of guys, we are always careful about talking about where we hunt, and we'll give some generics like Western Adirondacks, Northern Adirondacks. But, like, at the end of the day, I've never been cut off in the Adirondacks. I've never had an argument with nobody in a parking lot about where we're going to hunt for the day. Like, it's just not going to happen. I've walked in with guys before, shot the breeze with them real quick. They're always super friendly. They're always willing to share information.
Yep.
Like, nobody's going to keep that tight-lipped about more. They might not tell you the biggest buck they got on camera, but we all share information. And at the end of the day, I never run into those guys.
Yeah.
Again, in the woods.
One of the things I've noticed over the years is guys that hunt big woods are usually the nicest people.
Mm-hmm. They get it.
I said this on our first podcast after Huntstock. I was like, there's a group of how many people at Huntstock?
I don't know.
Dude, it was huge, right?
1,000, I think.
Did you look at the ground at all at Huntstock? Dude, there's not a piece of garbage.
It was all clean.
On the ground. It was all clean. I said there's no fights. Yeah. Everybody was just there having a good time. And it was like that Northeast hunting culture, dude.
Yeah.
It was like there's something just so special to it and special about it, man.
There is, yeah.
There is. 100%.
Even the women in our lives, dude, like they never give us a hard time about this. And like at least on our side of things, like they get it, dude. Like they know we're straight up obsessed with this stuff, and they're just like, do you? Like it's better than you could be doing a lot
worse
and alcohol.
Things.
Yeah, they love it. There was something else I wanted to mention real quick. I always try to find the silver lining in guys being in the woods too. Like, hey man, get in here and stir these deer up a little bit because I'm sick of not seeing anything. Like, go kick them up out of that swamp. You're going to that swamp, beautiful, because I think they're all hanging in there.
Absolutely, dude. When people, dude, I can talk all goddamn, honestly. Like when people get all bent out of shape, they're like, oh, so and so's in here, this guy hunted here for like, dude, who cares, man? Who cares? Like. You don't know. That could work to your favor that day. You have no idea. Like that day that we went up to a particular mountain, we hunt all the time, ran into a guy in the parking lot. Brad's like, hey, we're going here, here, and here. And this guy and I basically just worked a ridge side by side.
Vermonter.
Yep. Let me say something. You Vermonters are persistent. You guys are everywhere. You guys are everywhere. You really are. You guys are killers.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I tried to sneak into a spot 2 years ago. I thought I was going to have all to myself. I got in there. There was 8 Vermont plates already up there. I was like, come on,
dude,
man.
Whenever I see another truck, or like at least a line of trucks, there's always a Vermonter in there. Yeah. Always. Yeah. You guys travel everywhere, and you guys are killers.
They're good.
And you're good hunters. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know why Vermonters are good deer hunters like that, but like I hear it from everyone. Like
it's just so rural. It's a rural state. It's got to have one of the lowest populations in the country.
Yeah,
easily.
Like 600,000.
Oh my god!
Like I know the Adirondack hunting thing is like so deeply ingrained, like heritage wise and stuff. But like, there's something special to like the Vermont heritage too of deer hunting.
I think
like,
they're one and the same, really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
a lot of them were born out of logging camps. A lot of Adirondack camps. A lot of those were born out of logging camps, and those guys were all good deer hunters when they had downtime. And a lot of the names, exactly. And a lot of the names for different things, like when I think of Adam's camp up there, like a lot of the names that he cites off, well, those are old Irving tissue camps.
Oh, okay.
Like numbered camps and stuff.
Yep.
So, that's what and it's no different. They logged in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. I also love how they say Vermont. Yeah, they're all from Vermont. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'll end it on one last story here unless you have anything else to say.
It won't be his last time on, so
you're coming on again because I want to get Corey in here too and Adam next time.
Yeah,
they'd love to talk to you. But we went to Mass, and we've been hunting this spot for probably 2 years or whatever. Not too much traffic. There's usually this one other, literally every time Corey and I went there, there was just one other Vermonter there. I think it was 2 seasons ago. I pull up. It was when we went that day.
Yeah, and not this past season.
This season before.
Right.
And it was a crunch day.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question real quick. Is it a really big mountain? Or is it like a decent mountain?
No, I wouldn't say it's a really big mountain.
Okay.
No. We'll talk about it afterwards. I think I know what you're referring to, and it was not that mountain.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
I'll say it.
All right, okay, sure.
Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. But we went in there. Dude, I drove down this road, and I looked down the road, and I literally, I'm not joking, 12 Vermont trucks. And I've never seen another truck on there. 12 Vermont trucks just lined up down the road. And I'm like, what is going on right now? I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why are they here?
The Green Army.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get past the fact you just said in the podcast. Now everybody's going to be all fired up about it.
You can bleep it. You can bleep that too.
I'll bleep it. I'll bleep it.
Bleep the
It was
first one.
Bleep,
What does
bleep
Lee
it.
Lippy always said? It was the Babylon Brook Road, or no?
No, Lost Brook or something.
No, it's something.
Yeah.
Something.
Forgotten Brook.
Yeah,
Forgotten
sure.
Brook.
Forgotten
That's
Brook.
what it is.
Whatever.
Isaac, thanks, dude. We're
Yeah,
gonna talk more
appreciate
once we
it.
turn
Dude,
the mics
seriously,
off.
Yeah, for sure.
appreciate you coming over here and
Yeah,
doing
it's
this
been
with us.
great.
Definitely
Yeah, it
be
was a lot
another
of
one in
fun.
the future.
That's all there is
Yeah.
to do on a January night when we just think about deer hunting.
Yep.
That's right.
Everyone go check out what Northwoods Whitetails has going on, and go give Adirondack Bucks and Beyond a like and follow on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we'll catch you guys next time. And
Isaac's
Brad-
got a channel too. Quick.
Oh,
yeah.
and Isaac's own channel.
Yeah,
obviously.
my channel too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's gonna be, I got some stuff coming out on my channel too. That I have the 4 days that I was in the Adirondacks this year. I kind of compiled that all.
Oh,
and
sweet.
I'm gonna make
Sweet.
a video out of that. I should
Beautiful.
have killed $2 over here this year.
Cool. Did you get footage? I guess I won't give
did.
it away.
I
Did you?
Yeah, I got footage of it all. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet,
So-
sweet. It's good stuff.
Yep.
All right, guys. Izaak Young, everybody.
Yeah.